I'd like to thank our season sponsor, Carmel Communication and Sunday Mass. One company I'm always happy to recommend is Carmel Communications. They've helped leading Catholic ministries, filmmakers, publishers, authors, mission-driven organizations share their stories through national media, strategic communications, public relations, and partnerships that expand their reach and amplify their mission. I've had the pleasure of working with them most recently on Heart of a Servant, the Father Flanagan story, where we had a Fathom release and they did an awesome job in all the marketing, press, and everything. I would encourage you to visit carmelcommunications.com to learn more. I'd also like to thank Sunday Mass. Now, I've been wearing Sunday Mass clothing for a long time, and I'm thrilled that they're now a sponsor of Flicker and Burn. If you're looking for the coolest Catholic hats, shirts, shorts, gym wear, streetwear, they got it. Check out sundaymass.store. I hope you enjoy the episode. Hi, I'm Rob Kasmork, and welcome to Flicker and Burn, bringing you moments big and small that ignite faith and purpose. Today, we're honored to have Kristen Harris. Kristen is a Catholic convert. You might know her on Instagram as A Sacred Faith, where she converts, or she shares her story of conversion to her Protestant brothers and sisters and shares the Catholic faith in a beautiful way. Kristen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. I've consumed a lot of your content. It came from my feed, and I was like, this is incredible. You have I think it's just a strong visual aesthetic, and the way you share the faith is it's just so beautiful. So
Thank you.
I'm honored to have you here. I hear you like coffee.
I do.
So I'm going to make my special coffee blend. So, did you ever have Turkish coffee?
No, I've never had.
It's like, I don't know. All I know is that like when you have it at the bottom, it's a little like thick. It's kind of like sand. So it's like a
Actually, maybe I have had that before. The thing is that I just drink coffee, whoever gives it to me, whatever it is, and I'm like, this is great.
You're not
so
picky? I love that. Well, good.
not picky.
Now we're gonna take this and
Now I'm gonna go home, and this is gonna be the only way I can make coffee.
it's nothing fancy.
Even better.
Okay, so I mean it's really simple too. I generally just do this on the weekends because I need it to go a little faster during the week, and then you just pour it over. We'll let that sit. All right, let me get you the first pour.
Thank you. This is
Go
gonna be
for
great.
Cream, put as much as you like in there.
Oh my goodness. Do you want me to just pour the cream myself?
Yeah, however you like it. Just like my favorite color, I do drink my coffee black.
Yeah. I assumed so. For the longest time, I always said I don't trust anyone who drinks their coffee black because I'm like, how can you? But the older I get, I'm like, okay, I can see it now. I can see it now.
There's a certain aesthetic,
Yes.
it's like, it's also the easiest to get right.
Yeah. Because you don't have to add anything.
It's like, oh, cream and sugar. It's like, well, how much cream, how much sugar?
But
This
it's
is
the
just like-
science. After you learn how much cream, how much sugar. Yeah.
Well, cheers.
That is good.
Good.
Oh, that is good. Thank you.
All right, so let's start. Where did it all begin for you?
So, wow. The beginning of my story is a beautiful one, a semi-normal one, but also one of heartbreak and wounds. So my mom was a single mom as she was raising me. She did the best that she could. She had me when she was 20, almost 21 years old, and while she was in college. And so with that came, me seeing her struggle. And it wasn't until we moved that I feel like my mom really got some good grounding underneath her. She started working in a hospital. She did the same job almost my entire life until just maybe about 4 or 5 years ago.
Where
And
did you guys grow up? Or
so in Ohio. So I was born in Alabama.
Okay,
I grew up in Ohio, and then we moved back to Alabama.
gotcha.
So
Okay.
kind of went all over the place, but no real spiritual grounding there either. Just my mom did the best she could. Her parents were Jehovah's Witnesses, so that's how she was raised, and she decided she didn't want to be a part of being Jehovah's Witness, but it's still all she really knew, so that's what I learned also growing up.
How old were you when she decided she didn't want to be Jehovah's Witness?
So my mom actually decided that before she even
Before you were born.
before I was even born.
Because from my understanding, there's no birthdays celebration. Like there's no. Is it only Easter? Right? Is the only celebration?
They don't even do Easter.
Not
What
even-
they call it is the memorial of Jesus Christ. So
Okay.
they call it the memorial, and that's when people sit down They literally pass around the bread and wine. And if you are a part of the 144,000, you get to partake in that. If not, you don't get to partake. So,
Interesting.
yeah, the only 144,000 people, according to Jehovah's Witness beliefs, get to go to heaven. Everybody else stays on a paradise earth.
Okay.
So I never saw anyone take the bread and
Well,
wine.
anyone knew was part of that?
No,
No.
ever.
It's an interesting perspective.
Definitely.
So, but it was still part of the culture though, growing up.
Yeah, it was just a part of the culture. My mom didn't really she didn't want any kind of real spiritual background. So, if my grandparents wanted to take me to the Kingdom Hall, she was fine with that. But that's around how I first started learning about, even though they aren't Christians, that's where I first started learning about Bible stories. So I did get some kind of deep rooting in characters and figures of the Bible because they use the Bible, but to their own interpretation and what they believe it to say.
Yeah.
But that's where I was first introduced to this concept of Jesus, who they believe is or used to be the Archangel Michael, who,
Oh, really?
yes.
Do they think they're Christians or no?
So they would actually say that they are the only true Christians.
Like Catholics.
Yes.
They're wannabe Catholics.
The fullness of the faith. No, they would say that they are the only true Christians, but
Okay.
they don't believe in the Trinity. So we know that just historically,
Right.
if you don't believe in the Trinity,
You're not part of this.
You're
Well,
not
it's just
part of the
Jehovah's
group.
Witness and Mormons are the two,
yes.
but don't tell it to them. Or,
Yeah, no.
yeah, we've
Don't, yeah. Don't tell that to the Mormons. But
got
yes.
it. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so she was your grandparents would take you sometimes to be part of
Yes.
it.
Yeah, and that's where I first learned about Jesus, whether or not it was the Jesus that I believe him to be today, but that's where I first learned about the name of Jesus. So I had this concept of God. I had this concept of something being higher than myself, but no real deeply rooted doctrinal spiritual background at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then where after that then when did you 'cause when did you start to like go to sort of like a non-Jehovah's Witness church? Like when was your next introduction to faith then?
Well, a lot happened before then.
Okay, well, yeah,
Yeah,
let's go to
so I ended up going through and experiencing sexual abuse at a very young age.
Jeez.
So through that for years, and then also through the fact that my biological father was not in my life, um, obviously that just created some deep wounds within me. And because of that, I felt like God was very distant. It's hard to really trust anything once you've gone through something traumatic like that. And so I was along with the ride with my mom. She was a believer in God, but not really practicing, like I said, anything in particular. So I was in that realm too. But because I didn't really have a strong understanding and background of God, and because of the abuse that I had gone through, that caused me to make some very poor decisions in high school, just trying to find my worth in boyfriends and, trying to be cool and not really knowing, when you're in high school, it's very weird and awkward already.
Well,
You're trying to find yourself. And so a lot of that I was finding myself in very negative ways because of all of the things that I had experienced.
yeah.
And it wasn't until I got to college that my freshman year did some very crazy freshman year things when you go to college. And then one of my friends that I actually went to high school with, who happened to go to the same college as me, invited me to this college worship night at a Baptist church. And so I went there, and that was my first time experiencing the Trinitarian Jesus
Yeah.
and seeing people on fire with their faith and, singing worship songs that I had never heard before, because in the Kingdom Hall, you don't have songs like that.
Are there
It's
any songs or
they play songs, but it's basically like songs on the backtrack, like of a piano. So it's a piano that's recorded, and they
Okay.
play the recording, and you sing songs from the songbook.
Okay.
And so I had never heard, this was definitely like rock style type
The
college night church.
college worship is legit.
Yeah.
I've been to some of those and it's like
People are
it's
like
fun.
crying. It's like everyone's got their hands raised. And I just remember, because this church was a huge church too, there was a balcony area. I remember sitting up at the balcony with my friend, and I just start sobbing. And he was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just, I've never seen people love Jesus this much." But that was my first introduction. That was my first introduction to the Lord, and I'm grateful for it. That's not where I ended up staying, but I'm grateful for it because I got to see firsthand the difference between what I understood Jesus to be and then, who he was.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, God comes to us we're in different stages of life, and so he enters in where he thinks he can.
Yeah.
And I'm a cradle Catholic, but there was a church, there was a college, Trinity College nearby, and they would have worship nights on, I think it was like Wednesday or Thursday. And I was really into like contemporary Christian music, and so they had a concert there once. So I went to go see like a Christian band, and they're like, you should come for our worship nights. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of like this, like I was pretty into my Catholic faith. So I went and I was like, this is fun.
Yeah.
Like it's like, I
It
mean,
is fun.
it's it's like, they're worshiping the Lord. It's like everyone's there for the right reasons. It's very like loud and emotive, and it's like I think that stuff has its place, but then it's like it's not the mass.
Right.
But if you don't know what the mass is and like the
Right.
focus of the Eucharist,
Exactly.
it's like it's a different entry point for some people. So
Yes.
that was your entry point for you to understand like
Yes.
the Trinitarian God.
Yes.
And then where did that go from there then?
So I actually ended up leaving that Baptist. I went there for a while, had a boyfriend there. We broke up. And so I ended up following some friends to a different church. And this church was a non-denominational, huge mega church with different locations all over Alabama.
Mm.
And that was my second interaction with church. With that being said, with that came a lot of confusion because what I saw was this deep emotional experience to God, but I didn't really have any deep roots. It's like I realized who Jesus was in this Baptist church, and that was amazing. That was great, but I didn't feel like I fit in there. So then I went to this non-denominational church, and it was so big, no one even knew my name. And if they did know my name, there was no genuine connection there. And so from that point, when I was at this non-denominational church, I was like, well, this is what I know. I'm going to stay here. But at this time, I'm graduating college. And I get my first job in Nashville as an educator, moved to Nashville, loved Nashville, and was looking for a church. And at that time, I'm like, okay, well, my search goes to this mega church that's downtown. I'm going to go there. And I went there and I loved it. But same issue. No one knows my name. No one talked to me. They had all these amazing fun events at church. I mean, elaborate events. It's Nashville, so everybody can sing, and it's always like it's a party, it's a concert.
Midwest Hollywood out there.
Yes, yes, it is. 100%. And so we would have celebrities all the time come and sing at our church and, Carrie Underwood and all that kind of stuff
That's pretty cool.
would come and sing and perform. And we would have just different people all around. And so it got to the point, though, where I thought to myself, is this what it is?
You're right.
As a Jehovah's Witness, I wasn't technically a Jehovah's Witness, but being raised with that kind of background and then coming to learn about Jesus. And the Baptists are very, Southern Baptists are very straightforward. So being in that environment to then going to a non-denominational mega church, it's like a culture shock. I didn't know what to feel or what to believe about Jesus. So my only thought was to church hop. I said, if I can't find who I am here, I'm going to keep going until I find who I am and who God is and what he wants from me. So then that caused me to just go around and church hop. And it honestly kind of reminded me of the insecure feelings I had while I was searching for God, not knowing I was searching for God, just trying to find a way to heal past wounds, bouncing around from this to that. And then I was doing it again. I was just doing it with church. But I would always find a reason why I didn't like the church. That pastor sucks. That worship team is off key. I don't like the way that person greeted me when I walked in. It was just always an excuse. So much
Would you stay longer than a week there? Like, would you go for one service and then leave?
I would definitely stay longer than a week. I would try to give it a fair try. But then I would just always end up finding something wrong with it.
Yeah.
It was never just like, let me stick it out and try to see. But during that time too, I will say, and if I honestly can backtrack just a little bit to college, while I was going to that huge mega non-denominational church that had like multi-site locations, I actually found myself in the Catholic Church all the time. It was never for mass. The church was just always open.
You just like walk in.
Yeah.
Just
We
like
had
during
a
the
church
week?
on our campus. Yeah.
Oh.
We had a church on our campus, and then there was one that was not too far away. I went to the University of Alabama, Roll
Okay.
Tide. So just throw that in there. But we had a Catholic church that was not too far away from campus, and then we had one on campus. And sometimes I would just go and read my Bible to try to understand God because it was just always open. And I'm like, this is a holy place, right? I didn't know anything about Catholicism.
Mhm.
Fast forward, I moved to Nashville and I'm still church hopping, right? But I'm still finding myself in the Catholic Church. I'm still finding myself going to, not for mass,
Mhm.
but just going and sitting to be with the Lord. In my head, I was just like, this is what people do on TV. They go to the Catholic Church and they
That's
go
true.
and pray and like, you know?
That's the trope on movies. It's
Yes,
always the Catholic Church.
exactly. So that's what I thought of.
And little did you know, you were with Jesus. He was in the tabernacle.
Exactly, and I had no idea. Isn't that so crazy? I had no idea that I was in the presence of the living God at that time.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, after I, started church hopping and stuff, I actually went to a chapel of the church that was right down the street from me, a Catholic church, and I walk in there and I hear these African ladies praying the rosary, and I had no idea what they were doing, and they were praying it out loud.
Mm.
I just sat there and I just listened, and I had no clue what the rosary was. I didn't know the prayer that they were saying. I just knew that it brought me so much peace. But at that point, I had left from non-denominational church to non-denominational church, and I started attending an Episcopal church because I was like, well, this is kind of close to Catholicism. In my brain, I felt like that's where I needed to go because I couldn't be Catholic for whatever reason.
Mhm.
The one and only time that I ever did go to mass in college, my friend brought me and she told me I could not receive the Eucharist, and I was so offended.
She kinda made that real clear.
Yeah, she was like, "Oh, no, Kristen, you're gonna stay right here.
And you're
You
like,
can go
"Why
up for a
not?"
blessing."
Yeah.
And I was like, "But I'm a Christian. I just gave my life to Jesus like 2 months ago. I should be able to receive the Eucharist." And she's like,
Mhm.
"No." And I was so offended. And so in my head, that equated to you can't be Catholic. So when
Yeah.
I moved to Nashville and I wanted to like look into it, I was like, well, I guess I'll be Episcopalian. It's really close.
If we could say that for I'm curious because 'cause we've
Yeah.
had this I've had this firsthand experience as to how so going back to your, like, pre-Catholic days,
Yeah.
how could you have received that without being offended? 'Cause almost every time I've seen it where it's told the person, "Hey, by the way,"
Yeah.
it's usually taken poorly, and I've seen
Yes.
it taken real poorly.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'd be curious your advice on how someone can say that to a non-Catholic.
Honestly, if I'm completely honest, I don't think you can say it without someone getting offended. Because
Yeah.
if you think about how Protestants view communion,
Mhm.
and I won't say all Protestants, this is most Protestants,
Sure.
but most Protestants view it as a symbol
Mhm.
without the real presence. You have your Anglicans, you have your Lutherans, you have your Methodists who feel like there's some kind of presence there, but a lot more Protestants believe that it's just a symbol. So when you tell someone, oh, you can't receive this, they're like, why?
Yeah.
It's just a symbol. Like, Jesus told us to do this, so we obey him in doing this, but it's
Mhm.
not anything that I need to really worry about. Why can't I do this? And I mean, now when I look back and I'm thinking, well, Paul did say that if we did this unworthingly, this would be a very bad idea,
Mhm.
but they don't connect those dots. You're
Yeah.
not taught that. So, um, I don't know if there's a way to say that in a way that
That's
someone's
good to
not gonna
know.
take offense to it. I think even if you were to explain it and say, Catholics truly believe that this is the body, blood, soul, and divinity of
Mhm.
Jesus, and so you must be in communion when receiving communion, they would go, "Okay, well, that's great that that's what you believe, and this is what I believe. I should
Yeah.
still be able to take it." There's no yeah.
You kinda just what's that one guy on he's like the negotiator, like, "I got some bad news for you. You that you can't participate in the Eucharist."
Uh-huh.
And then just like You're gonna hate me for this, but that's how it goes.
Yeah,
So,
it's
yeah.
just how it is. But I think that, as somebody who was offended
Mm-hmm.
and then eventually understands, when you start to learn about Catholicism, then it starts to make sense.
Yeah.
But until someone makes that step, it's always going to be an offensive thing. Yeah.
Okay, so she took you to there, made sure you didn't have the Eucharist,
Yes.
and then that was it. That was just kind of like that was while you were going to Episcopalian, or that was like
That was actually before. That was in college. That was my first and only time ever going to
okay.
mass
Gotcha.
before I started going to mass as an adult.
Okay.
But when I moved to Nashville, I told myself I couldn't be Catholic because of that one experience with
makes
not being able to take the Eucharist. So I started going to an Episcopalian church, which was interesting to me because I think at that period of of time in my life, I had very liberal ideas about things. You should be able to worship Jesus however you want.
Mm-hmm.
And if you live this way or that way, you should be able to come to Jesus. And I know that the Episcopal Church is very, very welcoming of all different kinds of people. And so I think that was my draw to it. But that was also the first time that I witnessed something outside of what it looks like to be non-denominational.
Mm.
But at that point, even going to the Episcopal Church in Nashville, I had already made up my mind that maybe Christianity wasn't for me.
Really?
I was seriously just pushing and trying because when you move on your own and you actually have no real roots into your connection with Jesus, um, how do you get grounded in a place where nobody knows your name? How do you get grounded when you go to Bible study and no one really asks you about your story? Or when you have an experience like mine and you go to a Bible study and you tell those girls something, it was very simple, like, I'm going to start going back to therapy. And they decide to spread it around your friend group. Things like that. I mean, it kind of just, at that point, I had decided, I don't think that Christianity is for me. Yeah. I've gone from church to church. I've tried high church. I've tried low church. I've tried all of the things. It's not for me. And that's kind of what led me going into New Age spirituality.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's I'm one of them. It's like, how could you blame you, right? If it's like you've tried it, and especially like the part that's hard, I think, in any religion or whatever, is that when the people sort of fail you,
Yes.
it's hard to get over that and separate the faith from the people that are presenting it.
Yeah.
And so that's it's a tough spot to be in, a tough spot for anyone to be in, that, and to find your way back. But God did find a way back. But let's go to the tarot stuff and the New Age, because that's I think, as pretty honest, I had to do some research because I didn't know too much about it. I didn't do that much research, but like, what did that look like for you then? So you started getting to, you're like, all right, Jesus, it's been fun.
Yeah.
We'll catch you on the flip
It's
side.
not working out. Slowly back away. Like that Homer Simpson movie. Yes. Like literally backing away. But yeah, gosh, I don't even know where to start with that. I just got into tarot because I thought that was the next thing. If I am not going to be Christian, let me find some other way to feed my spirituality, because I knew that there was something. I've never been an atheist. I knew there was something out there.
Right.
I just didn't know if it was Jesus anymore.
Yeah.
Because maybe what I was feeling before was just a feeling and nothing. It was pretty surface level. So really, my husband, my boyfriend at the time, husband now, he was just like, you're going to have to root yourself in something. Like, you've just been hopping around, just taking him to 5 million churches. He was so annoyed. And he's
he
not
Christian or
no,
anything?
no.
So he must really love you then.
Yes. He was annoyed at this point. He's like, I am not even Christian and I'm going to all these different places with you. You got to figure something out. So then when I decided to get into New Age spirituality, I was like, this is it. I'm on this path to self-discovery. I'm looking for, this way to connect with my authentic self, is what I called it. And, it's false promises. It's basically, for anyone who doesn't know, New Age spirituality is basically a mixture of practices that deal with, looking into yourself and focusing on your divine self. And it's got, astrology, divination, spirit guides, all kinds of things like that where it's built on building up yourself. Like you get the spirituality without the obedience or carrying your cross or the sacrifice. And that feels great at first because you just feel like, well, I'm really trying to get to know me and who I am. But it's
Yeah.
a very selfish system. So much so where it actually started impacting my marriage. At first, I think my husband was like, "Oh, this is cool. All the tarot and the yoga and all the things. Like if that's you, then be that." He didn't care. He's just like, "Pick something. If that's you, then be that."
Just glad I didn't have to go to church on Sunday.
Exactly. Exactly.
Tarots? Sure.
Whatever.
Sleeping in Sunday morning.
Right. Exactly. So, but it ended up being pretty harsh on my marriage because it all became about me
Mm.
and about my universe and about who I am and how, people were really offending me and they just don't understand. It was very, very much an ego spiritual experience.
You know what Bishop Barron would say in that moment?
What is that?
Your life's not about you.
Yeah, that's exactly what he would say. Absolutely.
Is it like how much of like the New Age spirituality starts to like morph into like pagan witchcraft? Like is there like a lot? Is it like you start with like crystals and then you end up doing spells? Like,
Yeah.
is there like an evolution to that? Or
I think so. At least that was my experience.
Mhm.
Definitely started out pretty harmless, looking at oracle cards, which are different from tarot.
Okay.
Oracle cards, like you can equate it to like a Christian devotional. Like it's not the Bible, but it's a devotional that you open and you read and it gives you, a good nugget for the day and you move on. That's more like oracle cards.
Okay.
So you'd pick an oracle card and then it started off with crystals and then
What do crystals do?
nothing.
Well, yeah, I know that, but what are they like? Are they supposed to do something?
Yes, the different crystals are used for different things. So, you've got your amethyst, which is known for, knowledge, and it's like a basic crystal for grounding. And
Are
then
you
you've
supposed
got
to carry it?
you carry it, you
Oh, okay.
can meditate with it in your hands. You've got black tourmaline, which is supposed to get rid of negative energy and negative vibes, things like that. Um, I used to speak up crystals, but I'm going to tell you right now, I don't believe that I truly ever thought that anything was going on. I wanted to believe that something was going on when I was using my crystals, but I think that they are just beautiful rocks made by God. They also use incense.
Okay.
So that was actually my first introduction to incense.
And like different
Before
incense and Catholic
Catholicism.
stuff, right? Or is it the similar?
Similar
there's like the
fragrances, but it's more of like, the stick or the
yeah.
cone that you would put on a hot plate or something that helps it to smoke. You would light it and put it on something that can't get destroyed so that it,
Mhm.
goes into the air, makes your room feel good when you're
Mhm.
meditating.
Okay. Those aren't incense are like neutral, right?
Yeah, I would
That's
say
like
so. I
yeah.
think it's just a part of a lot of different spiritual expressions.
Yeah.
But I think with anything, it's how you use it. What is it intended for?
Right.
Is your use of incense intended to worship Durga, which is like a Hindu god? Is that your intention while you're doing your yoga and meditation? Or is it to worship God?
Yeah.
And so I think it's all about how you perceive that. I think anything is. I don't even think there's necessarily anything wrong with crystals. Crystals are beautiful things created by our Lord, but
Yeah.
it's how you're using it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because I remember like I was in confession once, and the priest was like, I would have to go on the trope of like the road to hell is paved with contentions, but it's like I was like confessing my sin. I
Mhm.
won't share what it was. It's like, but why are you doing that?
Yeah.
And like the why, like and then saying like, what's your intention? Like your
Mhm.
intention for that tends to point at like the source of like where that's coming from.
Right.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so you were doing so then it was like the devotional sort of book, and then the oracle book, and then you went to the tarot. How does that work? That because you said I heard you like did tarots for people and stuff
Yes.
too.
I started reading tarot for myself. It started out as like pulling a card a day just to see like, what is it that the universe wants to tell me today? And then I started doing spreads. So spreads are like, when you really start getting into reading your cards and you
Okay.
try to figure out a message that's just behind a story, pretty much. So you've got cards laid out and you try to tell the story with what you feel like the universe is trying to speak to you, or your spirit guides, or whatever deity you decide to ascribe yourself to. Um, so it started out that way. So I built my craft first. Any good tarot person would tell you that you want to practice and study and practice on people you know first before reading for other people. But yeah, it got to the point where I practiced it so much and learned so much about it and felt so in tune with my inner self that I started reading for other people. And not just reading for strangers, making money reading for strangers. I mean, people would make regular appointments for me to read their cards. And at the time, that felt good because you feel like you have this sense of power. And I really felt like I was doing a good thing. I really felt like I was helping people because I had come from such this, you know, terrible background with wounds that needed healing. So if I could read tarot and I could help other people heal their wounds, then I'm doing God's work, right? And so what it really turned into, though, is me just being my own God and not allowing people to allow the Lord to reveal things to them. And it got so bad that I just pulled cards for everything. It was like, I'm being dramatic, but what should I eat for breakfast? Like, all right, there we go. Cereal. It was a crazy experience to want to know all the things all the time, especially when you have people validating you saying, oh my gosh, you're so right. That's exactly my experience. And I'm thinking to myself, how do I know these things? I would lay out the cards. I have a general message that I can see based off of what the cards mean. And then I would hear information about things that I don't know this person from Adam. And I know about their love life. I know about what job they're going
Like
to
you would
get.
just hear that in your head or just have a feeling of it?
Yeah, I mean, not an audible voice, but a feeling.
Yeah.
And it was so much so where I believed it was my spirit guides, my guides on the other side helping me so that I could help somebody else. So it was more of this very intense feeling of whatever I'm about to say, it's going to be truth kind of thing. And so when I would say it, you have people that are like, yes, how did you know that? And I'm like, I have no idea. I have no idea. Um, but I really thought, man, I I'm hearing from my spirit guides. They're helping me guide other people to have successful lives. So I'm doing a good thing here.
And you're, on the positive side of that, like people are coming to you in a maybe desperate way, and you're
Yes.
helping them. You're
Yes.
leaving, they're feeling better, and you're like, okay. But when it comes down, and I think you had that. It seems to be that, that pattern where you're, even now, not to fast forward too much, but like you're helping people. It's like
Yes.
I sense there's like this desire that you want to keep helping people.
Yes.
It was trying to find the right spot.
Yes.
But it breaks sort of the way God works, which is revealing stuff before it allows it to. I mean, because there's things there's just things that I look back at, a year ago, and I was like, wow, had I known that this was going to change in 2 weeks, I would have approached it. I think like I would have approached this completely different. But it's like
Yes.
God didn't want me to know that.
Right.
God wanted me to live it the way I lived it, because when you know everything, then that's like
You don't trust him.
you don't trust it, and that's like core principle of Christianity,
Mhm.
Catholicism. As I come to Christ, like, or God, like He's your Father,
Yes.
and lean on Him for everything.
Yes.
Like the birds, they're not worried about the next
Right.
day.
Yeah.
They're worried about what's in
So
front.
you don't need to be worried either.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think that I just really wanted to, like you said, I've always been this way. And that's why I went into education. When I went to college, I
Yeah,
got
yeah.
my undergrad and my master's in education because I wanted to help people. I wanted to help them learn more about themselves and about the world. And so, like you said, the desire was there. It was just being placed in the wrong place. And so when I was reading people's tarot cards, it got to a point where it got a little too serious
Mm.
because I would read the tarot and I would start feeling sick, like physically ill, sweating profusely, stomach aches, just felt like, headaches. I would get blurred vision, all these things were happening to me, and I would not be like that all day. I would start reading someone's cards, and then I started feeling that way. And over time, it was just wearing more and more on my body. And this was super frustrating for me because in the tarot community, they would just say, well, you know why that is, right? You need to ground yourself. You need to make sure before you read anyone's cards that you're meditating and you're meditating seriously and you go out and you experience the earth and you do all these grounding rituals. And I did all of that and nothing helped. I would continue to be sick every time I read someone's tarot cards. But one of the most profound experiences was when I was reading someone's cards. I started feeling sick, started getting hot flashes, and I felt like something or just holds it felt like it was holding me down on my shoulders. A lot of pressure, couldn't move, couldn't get up, and I was like, "That was weird," but I attribute it to, "Oh, it was probably one of their loved ones on the other side trying to send a message." You really get wrapped up in it where you just start ignoring all of the red flags,
Yeah.
and it's just like, "Well, this is taking a toll on my body, but it's okay because it's for the greater good." But at some point when, your spiritual practice becomes detrimental to your health, to your mental health too,
Mhm.
to your body, to your psychology, like it just at some point you have to stop calling it a spiritual practice and call it what it is.
That's wild. Where did you see other people like that, were in the tarot community, that were, say, older than him doing it for a while, and, like, did you ever, like, talk to them? What's your like, "Oh, I wanna be like this person
Yes.
here."
Yes.
Yeah, was share some of that?
So the crazy part is that before I started this Catholic platform, when I was doing tarot, I actually had a tarot platform where I was reading for people online too. And I met people through that, and, people who have been doing tarot for years, people who had grown up with parents who read tarot cards, and I would connect with them, but nothing they ever said to help me or to guide me actually worked. It was me basically trying to figure things out on my own, knowing that eventually I'd have the experience that they have. I could write a book about it, all these kind of things. And so, yeah, I did meet people, but it was again, I met people, very lonely experience,
Mm.
especially when you're doing tarot because most people know that that's a no-no. They're like, "Girl, I don't know what you're doing, but I don't want any part of that." And so, it's lonely in that way, but then it's also lonely within the tarot community because everybody has their own it's very cliquey. Everyone
Mhm.
has their own way that, they get away from Christianity because they feel like it's judgmental and hypocritical. And then I realized going into this new age world, it's the same thing. You've got people that are, "Oh, my third eye is more open than yours." Okay. Okay.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. So I met people through that, but it wasn't.
Yeah, there's no community there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, just to say this for, like, because I think people I think it'd be interesting for people to understand this a little bit further because I didn't know too much. I just sort of, like, know that, like, Ouija board, tarot, it's like you just kinda, like, you stay away from it, but I think some
Yes.
people don't, and they just some of these they find it's novel, and they'll
Mhm.
have, like, just a Ouija board because it's fun. I mean, you
Right.
can go to, like, Target and get a
You
Ouija
can get a
board,
Ouija. Yes.
and so, I
Mhm.
guess what before we move on to this, what's something you would maybe share with someone that's sort of, like, if they're watching or listening right now and they've dabbled a little bit and they're like, "No," like, where would you maybe either offer some caution or some words of encouragement to.
Yeah. I think that I would just say, I promise you, it's not worth it. As soon as I stopped tarot, my body felt better instantly. And I'm not saying that everybody has the same experience with New Age spirituality because it varies. This is just my story. This is my experience. But what I will say is that it's never worth it. And what I actually saw right when I was leaving, right when I dropped tarot, what I actually saw was an influx of um, New Age content creators finding Jesus.
Really?
And it was the most beautiful thing. All of these people that I admired online for how they could read tarot and all these psychic abilities that they had were dropping it, throwing away their tarot cards in the dumpsters, and going to church. And I thought, there's something going on here. So I would just caution people to really think about it's not okay to know everything all the time. At some point, you have to surrender and carry your cross.
Yeah.
And you cannot have spiritual success in your life without doing so. You have to carry your cross. You cannot get the results you're looking for by just focusing on yourself and how you can make yourself higher above everyone else. It's not worth it.
So I guess looking at some of this stuff like tarot and New Age stuff, like why is it important for Catholics to, I would say, guard their hearts,
Mhm.
in that, and not, even dabble if they feel like, well, my intention isn't bad,
Right.
just like, well, why? What's the importance of that?
I think it's important to stay away because we are called as Christians to serve God and serve God alone.
Mhm.
And as you move into tarot or really any kind of divination, it's trying to get information that is unknown through any kind of spiritual means.
Mm.
And to me, that is playing God. That is that is a form of elevated self. It is a form of idolatry. We need to only wait on God. I don't think that we need to have all the answers. I don't think we're supposed to have all the answers. And I think that any answers that we do get through any of those things are not coming from God. Even though it seems like it because things turn out to be true, it turns out to be real, it looks really good, but that just goes to show you that the devil is always one step ahead trying to catch you into things. So, my advice would be to don't even play around with it because as soon as you open that door slightly, the devil's going to try to push it open. And then it does, it becomes full-fledged idolatry at that point. Because now you're no longer relying on the Lord. You're relying on whatever deity or spirit guides you feel like you're connecting with, or you're just relying on yourself, making yourself your own God. And I think that the Bible specifically tells us to stay away from anything that does anything of the sort. It's breaking one of the 10 commandments. Mortal sin. Yeah,
Yeah,
not good.
yeah, that's great advice. That's great advice. We want to, play God in so many ways, but it's like
Mhm. Yeah.
it's um yeah, it can get bad quick, and then
Yes.
you're sort of in this.
And then you're stuck in it.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
then it's a lot hard. It's a lot easier to avoid it
Yeah.
than to try to dig yourself out. So
Honestly, the fact that I quit cold turkey surprises me to this day because you develop such a craft.
mhm.
And with anything, with tarot, you put so much effort and time to learning your craft and being very good at it and perfecting it and reading people's cards. And so it's hard to give something up that you've put so much work into in general. But then
Yeah,
especially if you've got some forces that are trying to hold on to the fact that they want you to do this thing instead of following God, then it gets even harder.
yeah, that's well said. That's well said. Well, I love to. I mean, I know I heard your story, but can you share then what's next? I think that's like
Yes.
so profound. It's like you have a lot, so much to your story and to your life, but this is like
Yes.
this is awesome.
I always say that, like, if I was to just tell my story to some random person on the street, they go, "You just made all this up."
Yeah, probably.
But I promise this is my story.
No, it's just
And
incredible because that's how God's worked. It's like,
Yes.
I mean, it's so authentic, but like it is incredible how God's like what he's done. And, I think he's picked you. I mean, obviously like God loves all of us the same, but I think he picks certain people for certain missions, and
Yeah,
he certainly picked you for a very specific mission. And the fruit of that is incredible. I mean, just from seeing your impact
it's crazy.
online. So yeah,
Yeah,
please,
we'll get there. But
please share this.
yes, yes. So, basically, I had just got done doing a reading. I believe this was a reading online, probably TikTok. I did do private readings as well. I did readings, like, via Zoom and all that kind of stuff, so I can't remember, but I definitely remember I was on the computer, I shut down, and I got ready for bed like normal. My husband was already asleep because sometimes I would stay up late reading cards for people.
Mhm.
And at the time, I'm a teacher, so at the time, this way of making extra money was really nice. So I would stay up late.
Teachers are underpaid, if you're not aware.
Yes, yes. But I went upstairs, my husband was already asleep, and, I got ready for bed.
Was your son
Yes,
born?
yes,
Okay,
he was already born. At this time, he was what? Let's say, maybe 2.5 or 3.
okay.
Yeah. And so I went to bed, I went to sleep, did my normal meditation before I went to sleep, and while I was asleep, I had what felt like a dream, but also felt like real life. I can't really explain it. I thoroughly believe that I was dreaming. I know that I had fallen asleep, but it also felt so real. Um, and that was a dream of our Blessed Mother coming to me, basically telling me to stop what I'm doing and to follow her son. And just to put this into perspective, I would have no reason for Mary to come and visit me because I was never Catholic. I never really had some kind of strong connection or relationship with Mary. In New Age spirituality, like Mary's not really a thing. And some there's what you would call folk Catholicism, where it's like some New Age practices that try to mix Catholicism in with their New Age practices. But I was never really a part of that scene. I would have no reason for Mary to even think that I was worth somebody coming to. But in my dream, I just vividly remember her telling me, "You need to follow my son." And I woke up like in a sweat and I was like, "What was that?" My husband was sleeping. I was like, "Does he not understand that I just had a really crazy dream?" Like, I was like, "He's just over there sleeping so soundly." I woke up and I went downstairs because I love journaling. I wrote everything down, my whole dream, and I was like, "I don't want to forget this." And then I immediately I quit tarot.
That's
I said, "I'm not doing that anymore." I actually went probably like a couple days later, my sister, who is very much so into new age things, I told her I want to go to an antique store or something, and she loves thrifting. So we went, and she's like, "What are you looking for?" I was like, "I need to find a Mary statue." And she was like, "What?" I said, "I had this dream where Mary told me to follow her son and that I'm looking for Christian things." And she just thought it was weird, but
That's
but
cool.
yeah,
Did you
it was
find one?
crazy. No. I didn't end up finding anything. But I did end up going back to church, but not the Catholic church because I didn't know anything about Catholicism, but I went back to a non-denominational church after that.
I had a really strong conversion with Mary at a pilgrimage.
Wow.
It's like Mary, like she has, I think, even for I would say for non-Catholics, but even Catholics, not all Catholics understand sort of like what Mary is.
Yes.
It's just kind of like, but Jesus, you're like,
Right.
I know,
I know.
I
Got it.
hating that,
Yes.
but I've noticed, and I don't think this is absolute, but I think there is something there based on your maternal parents. So if you have a good relationship with your mom
Yes.
or your father, God tends to enter in that thing. So it sounds because of your mom,
My
you have a
mom.
great relationship.
Yes.
Mary is more palatable. It's like in the same way that your mom guides you in
Yes.
life and led you, and you look up to her. I'm blessed to have both my parents in my life. I would say I was closer with my mom growing up, and so Mary was an easy thing because it's like it's leading,
That maternal.
and so God knows that, and that's why God has Mary as such an important because she
Yes.
leads us to her son.
100%. You know, whenever any of my Protestants say, "How do you get over the whole Mary thing?" My response is always, "I don't have to." She came to me in a dream, and I truly believe that was our Blessed Mother coming to me and leading me to her son. It wasn't directly that my first thought was go to the Catholic Church, but
Right?
it was leading there. And all I needed was to hear that from her and to, make the decision to move away from tarot. And for me, I think too, Mary has just been such a beautiful figure in my life because I am close to my mother, but also because of her yes to God.
Yeah.
And because of her yes to God, it encourages me to say yes to God. I spent so much of my time saying yes to myself, doing what made me feel good, being in whatever realm of reality I wanted to be in at the time. And so, in that way, it was just like Mary saying, "You need to be more like me. You need to follow my son and you need to say yes to God again." Because right now we're going off of this path where it's a really dangerous path we're going down and we need to kind of turn things around. And so she always, to me, points me to Jesus.
Yeah.
I've never once looked at Mary and been like, "Wow, that would be a great figure to worship." I've always been like, "Wow, Mary is a mother to all. Jesus gave us his mother from the cross. How lucky are we?" Father Leo always puts it this way. He says, God works through family, the family of his church, through the domestic family. And so with that, you've got a father and a son, but you also need a mother. And that's where Mary comes in. Because let's say that Jesus was to appear to me in my dream. I don't know if I don't know if I would have taken it as seriously. I think I would have thought that I was just having, just this random dream about Jesus. But I'm not, I'm not going that route. It took me getting stopped in my tracks because I'm like, whoa, I have no connection to Mary
Right.
whatsoever. So what is happening here? And I don't know. I can say that. I don't know if I would have been as serious about it if Jesus appeared to me in my dream, but what I do know is that I definitely stopped in my tracks when our Blessed Mother appeared to me, for sure. Yeah.
But just seeing that, like, like people did not like her. It was tough. I mean, like once she said yes, and then you think fast forward how difficult, seeing her son,
Yeah.
just I mean, like the Seven Sorrows is just like I reflect on that. It's, just those a lot, and so she's someone that's like been through not as much as Christ, but it's been through a lot. And
Yes.
especially now that you're a mom, you probably
Yes,
relate to her even more.
exactly.
I think about,
A mom with a son. I
exactly.
can't even imagine.
Yeah. So there's just a tenderness and there's a level, I think, of trust that Mary gives. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
she's kind of been through hell and back with stuff.
Yeah.
Is able to like continue to lead people, closer to her son.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had that, and you started going to, you said,
A
okay,
non-denominational church.
non-denominational church.
I got super involved in that church. I joined the worship team. I loved that church, but there's, the St. Augustine quote that says, "Our hearts are restless until they rest in you." That's what it felt like. My heart was just always restless. I needed a place of peace. And even though I wanted Jesus, it seemed like nowhere I went did I just feel, all right, this is it. This is great. And I tried to make myself feel that way by joining the worship team, being super involved, reading my Bible, doing all the right things, but it just still wasn't enough. So I'm sure you can probably guess what I did. I church hopped. And
Your husband's like, here we go again.
No, really, really. It was,
He's like, all right.
I started going to a Methodist church, which I loved. Nothing wrong with this Methodist church. Still just, it wasn't where Christ was leading me. But what I will say is that because I like to call it the line of churches, you've got really low Protestant churches, and not low in like meaning or importance, but just how their worship style is. So that would be more of your non-denominational, Pentecostals, things like that. Then you've got what we would call mainline or high church, which is more of your Lutheran, Anglican, Methodist, anything still kind of very close to
And
Catholicism.
the churches look more like a Catholic church.
Yes,
right? Okay.
exactly. And so what I will say is that I think that all of this was needed because when I did go to that Methodist church, it opened up some traditions for me that made me look into church history and church traditions. And so, like, why do we have a baptismal font? Why are babies being baptized? Why do we say this particular prayer? Why do we all say the Apostles' Creed together? Just things like that we would do in the Methodist church. And I go, okay, let me look into this. That's when I came back to Catholicism. And I actually wrote my husband a note. After going to this Methodist church for like a year, I wrote him a note and I said, I know this seems like a lot. And I know that you've just already done all these things with me, but I think I want to explore being Catholic. So I gave him the note and I just backed away. Homer Simpson style again. Just backed away. He read it and he was like, honestly, this makes sense for you. I'm not even going to say, because I've always been very curious about the church. Whenever my husband and I would travel, and we've gone to many different places overseas and within the United States, I would always want to find a cathedral. I just always thought the Catholic Church was so
They
beautiful.
were the center of the town.
Yes. And so I'd be like, ooh, let's go in there. It's so beautiful. It's so peaceful. I just always had this connection to it. I just didn't know what to do with that. So he was like, this actually checks out for you. That's fine. You do that. I'm staying home. I'm not going to any more churches. He refused. He's like, explore all you want to. Just, you need to pick something. And if you're going to pick something, you need to do it without dragging our son into it, because I had already taken him now to 3 different churches. So that was a little hard, because it was a hard pill for me to swallow. I couldn't deny it. I couldn't be like, but, no. I mean, I've done a lot of things in the 11 years that my husband and I had been together. So, it was just one more thing for him at that point.
The early church, that'll get you.
Yeah.
You're like, let me look some stuff up.
Uh-huh.
Like, oh, okay, there, Peter. Yeah.
And the Eucharist,
Yeah.
when I started reading John 6, I even went to my Methodist pastor and I asked her, I said, hey, like, what's going on here? She was like, well, Jesus also says other things like, I am the gate and I am this. And it's just, a metaphor. But I just couldn't get past that one. I could see for all the other things that Jesus said, I am this. But when he said, this is my body, this is my blood, something with me wouldn't let that go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's when from the outside, especially if you have a lot of sort of like tradition of like other like non-denominational where it's just like crackers and juice, you're like,
Yes.
yeah. But like once it clicks, you're like,
Yes.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then I'm getting started on Eucharistic miracles. It's like the crackers aren't
I just
bleeding
recently
blood.
bought a book this big on Eucharistic
Really?
miracles, and I can't wait to go through it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole big rabbit hole when it comes to like, I mean, in a good way. It's just like it's a whole world of stuff. Yeah, it's incredible. Okay, so you're like, all right, I'm gonna become Catholic. What was like where'd you find a church? Like, how did that?
Yeah. So I was battling. I mean, I was meeting with my pastor. I was trying to figure this out. I was meeting with the priest of the parish that was closest to me. And so that's the good thing too about the Catholic Church. You don't have to church hop. You just go to whichever one's by your house.
Yeah, that's
That's the best thing about it. Yes. So I went there and asked the priest questions, and he's like, this is how you get involved in OCIA. And I love my priest. He's actually my spiritual director now, because with all of the content creation work I do, it can get pretty heavy. And so I need someone to regularly check in with. And so he was like, actually Father Leo, when I went to Baltimore, he told me, you're going to have to find a spiritual director. Like, this is getting to that point now. I was like, okay. And then I was talking to my priest about needing to find one. He's like, yeah, I could recommend. I was like, no, can it just be you? I can't. You know me, you know my story. So I meet with him once a month and it's great. But when I first had that initial conversation with him, he was just like, let's get you into OCIA. I start my OCIA class. I actually ended up starting my OCIA class and not finishing it because I got cold feet. I loved everything that I was learning. I made a friend there who's still one of my closest friends to this day. And I was supposed to be confirmed that year on Pentecost, and I ended up not going through with it because every time I took our, at the time, 4-year-old to Mass, he did not like it. He hated it. He wanted to go back to our Methodist church where he got to do arts and crafts and watch videos about Jesus and play and learn in that way. And so that was really hard for me. And I thought, well, if he's not getting anything out of this, wrong thing to think. If he's not getting anything out of this, how could I possibly drag him through this being my kid? So then guess what I did? I went back to my Methodist church.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I just want to see. I love to see, like, you tell your husband, what's his name?
Richard.
Hey, Richard, are we probably going, this week I'm going to the Methodist church.
God bless him. When I think about it, I'm just like, he viewed marriage more sacred, in a more sacred way than I did. Because at this point I would have been like, girl, I'm done. You go do whatever you need to do. I'm done. No, but he's a trooper. He's
a good guy. I
He's
don't
a
even
good
know.
guy.
He's a good dude.
He's a good
a
dude.
solid dude.
He is solid. He truly is. And I went back to the Methodist church, and it's hard when you experience the fullness of truth. Because before, when I was going and church hopping all these different places, it was easy for me to bounce back and forth. But when you experience the fullness of truth and then you try to go back,
it's like, nope.
It is not the same experience. You start looking at everything so different. Well, why did we do that? And then that's not very important. And where's the Eucharist? Like, you just start looking at everything in such a different way.
You're like Neo in the Matrix, where you're like,
Yes.
I
felt
see it all.
Yes.
It's not knowing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, oh my gosh, then the friend that I made in OCIA, she goes through with getting confirmed on Pentecost, and I'm seeing her get confirmed, and I'm like, you're an idiot, Kristen.
I made a huge mistake.
I made a huge mistake. Why did I not go through with this? This is what I really wanted. My son would have come around to it eventually. I also need to teach him that the Mass isn't about what we get out of this. It's about being in the presence of our Lord.
Mhm.
It is about worshiping the way that God has asked us to connect and worship Him through sacrifice. That's the way it's always been.
Yeah.
But because at that time I was still learning, I didn't have this understanding of that. I just started getting psyched out. So watched my friend get confirmed, and then after that, I looked for schools because they were doing massive layoffs at my company. I was like, I know I'm next. It's just a matter of time. And I was interviewing at all these places in our district, and either no response or it just didn't feel right. Then I I was like, let me apply to this Catholic school. They're not going to accept me. I'm not Catholic. That was my thought. And most Catholic schools probably won't. But this school is something very special. And I went on my interview at this Catholic school, and she made something very clear. She's like, Kristen, this is all very impressive. I gave her like this portfolio with all of my teaching experience and all the things I've done. I've presented to adults. I've presented at conferences. I went from teaching children to working for ed tech and presenting and teaching adults how to teach children and all those kind of things. And she said, this is all great. She closed my portfolio. She put it down. I was like, but I worked really hard on that. Are you sure you don't want to take another look? She goes, I know you're qualified. I know you're overqualified. I know that you have a lot of experience. But one thing I want you to understand is that I pray over every person before they come in here and sit down with me. I try to ask the Holy Spirit just to get a feel of what I'm stepping into and what would be a good fit for our school. And God told me to give this job to you. So I sat there and I said, okay, God, I've been struggling. I had already made up my mind. I'm going to go on this interview, but I'm not Catholic, so she's not going to accept me. And one thing she didn't make clear is, I don't care if you're Catholic or not, but you will teach Catholic theology. You will be a Catholic school teacher. And so I appreciated that. She didn't care. She didn't even know my background with church. She didn't know any of this. Her thing was, you're qualified. God told me to hire you, and I'm going to be obedient to that, and you will teach Catholic theology. Okay. So at that time, too, I had like 3 more schools get in contact with me after interviewing with them saying, I want you to work here. And I said, no, I'm going to work at the Catholic school because this is where I truly feel like I'm meant to be. And I know it is. I know it is. But yeah, that was just such a crazy experience that she had no idea that by her saying that, in my head, when she said that during my interview, I said, I'm going to go back to OCIA.
Because that was right at the similar time that your friend got confirmed.
Yes.
So just like God's like, all right,
my friend,
pull out the big guns.
Yeah. My friend got confirmed. I lost my job. Well, I got laid off, and I'm in this interview, and she says, God told me to give you this job. She said, you do with that what you will. Think about it. Go pray about it. Come back. And I was like, well, there's nothing to think about. God has already told me that this is like, I'm here. You have me. So yeah. So working there, I just knew that I don't want to just tell these kids something I'm really excited about, something that I think is true, and it's not even something that I'm involved with myself.
Yeah.
I'm going back to OCIA. And I actually emailed my OCIA teacher, and I said, listen, I'm going to be starting in the fall. I'm going to be starting at this Catholic school, and I would love to come back to OCIA. I know the class is done. Can I please just catch up on my classes? I had 3 classes to go to be confirmed.
You were basically there.
I was basically done. I had 3 more classes. And she goes, "Okay, let me talk to Father. Let me see, because I don't want this to be." She already knew how delicate my family situation was. She's like, "I think you need to come in and talk to Father so that he knows the situation. He can give you some advice." And I went in and I talked to him and he said, Why did you stop going through OCIA? You had like 3 classes left. What's going on?" I was like, "I got scared. That's what I do when I get scared. I run away from things." And he said, "Okay, well, what was the reason this time?" I said, "My son didn't like it." He was like, "Okay." Cool. And and I realized at that moment that everything that I've ever told myself from the very beginning, everything that I've ever told myself has always just been an excuse. It's always been a reason why I can't connect to God, and I've always been the only thing standing in the way. I had a husband who didn't care, just find something, and I'm still the reason that it's not happening. I'm still the person in the way of my connection to God. So at some point, I just had to say, "Listen, you're either wanting to be in communion with our Lord or you don't." And that's it. Um, so talk to him. He said, "You can't be worried about anything else right now. Your family will come around as God sees fit. You will come around to understanding as God sees fit. You will teach your son the right things. Don't focus on that right now." Basically, if we put words to your actions, because you talk about your husband, you talk about how it's just he thinks this is one more thing. Say that it's not one more thing. Prove to him that this is the ultimate thing. But with that comes consistency. I was like, okay, here we go. After I had that conversation with him, I waited and my OCIA teacher emailed me back and she said, "Okay, let's finish up your classes online, just me and you." I was like, that's so nice because she didn't have to do that. That was out of her designated time to teach OCIA just for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What time of the year was that then that you picked that up and then?
See, that was during the summer of 2025. That,
They-
yes, because I was supposed to be confirmed June that year. And instead I was confirmed November that year on Christ the King. Yeah.
Nice.
hmm
And so did you finish the 3 classes? Did you have to wait then before you got?
Yes.
So you're like,
I finished up my 3 classes in like a week and a half. And I was just like, well, here's this wait till November. But you know what? Everything happens the way that it's supposed to. Because I think this was a big test to how faithful I was going to be to this. You finished your class. Now let's see if you're going to follow through with what you say you're going to follow through with. Let's see if you're going to live up to your word. And I had so much time in between to be like, actually, I back out of this. I don't want to, but that never crossed my mind. And that's how I knew. I was like, okay, God's onto something here because it just felt right. Everything was aligning. I now work at a Catholic school. I'm now about to become Catholic. And then, let alone that, I'm sharing my experience online doing this like 30-day Catholic countdown. And so many people are like, "I'm interested in the Catholic Church. I don't know where to get started." And I was really just sharing what I was learning. I was still in the process of faith formation. Even though I was done with my classes, I decided to continue faith formation. And I was just sharing what I was learning online. And I realized, okay, there's more people than I thought that are seeking Catholicism. I had no idea. I thought I was just like this random girl going through this experience. And there's so many people with stories like mine who are either church hopping and can't find rest in their relationship with God, who are interested in Catholicism, or even African Americans who are like, "I didn't even know we could be Catholic." Like, of course you can be Catholic. They're so used to whatever was handed down to them.
Right.
And so it's just such a wild experience for sure.
Okay, so I'm old. I would always say RCIA, but it's changed. It's OCIA,
Yes,
which is
OCIA.
was it a stand for?
That stands for Order of Christian Initiation for Adults.
Okay, and that's because from my understanding, like they've changed it because some people like you were baptized,
Right.
so you didn't have to get
No.
baptized because in the Catholic tradition, if you're we believe if you're not Catholic,
Right.
If it's Trinitarian baptism,
Yes.
you're cool.
As long as you have the formula, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and you were baptized under that formula, then you are able to, which I was super jealous because I actually wanted to be rebaptized Catholic,
It's
but
kinda fun.
my priest was like, no. He was like, you're already baptized. We're not going to baptize you again. Dang
Yeah.
it. But yeah, so I was already baptized, but in OCIA, there are people who are not baptized yet
Mhm.
or who need baptism, confirmation, and Holy Communion, or just confirmation and Holy Communion.
Okay.
So I guess it's the order in which you
You
need
it.
those things.
And
Yeah.
so you need Holy Communion and confirmation then.
Yes.
Okay. So
Mhm.
you finished the classes, waiting for November, you had your dates, and then you started, or was it, did you have the platform already and you were doing different contexts, or did you, it was a brand
So
new?
I actually had the platform, but I rarely posted on it. And it was actually during my time where I was going to the Methodist church and I was just posting like Bible verses and stuff, nothing too serious. But I actually left it for quite some time and then came back to it to do my 30-day journey. So that started somewhere. Actually, I started a little bit before my 30-day journey because I was just sharing things that I was learning about the Catholic Church in general. And then I started a 30-day journey. So I think that started somewhere around August.
Okay.
And then I was confirmed in November for Christ the King.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
What did you find then? So you're starting to post, if people haven't been on your social media, it's a great account. I mean, it's in what's wild is like you'll have 46,000 likes, views, like likes, like in the amount of shares and saves, like it's an incredible platform. So you were starting to
you.
post. What did it first look like when you were starting to share that journey?
Yeah. So I started just sharing, like, I was just doing this annoying countdown. Now that I look back at it, I'm like, that was probably every day. I'm like, all right, 28 more days, guys, 27 more days. But I was doing this countdown to when I become confirmed Catholic. So then I started getting all these questions while I'm doing the countdown. So it was a series that I was doing. Here's what I've learned today as I am this much closer to getting confirmed. Then I would get comments in my comment section, and then I would use that as an opportunity to answer some questions that people had about the Catholic Church. And it just kind of caught on because I think that people are really hungering for something with reverence. I think as a society, we want truth, we want stability, we want something that has a structure to it. And I think that me coming online and saying, okay, this is what I'm entering into. First of all, you're in your 30s. Really? You're going to decide randomly in your 30s to become Catholic? That's interesting. Second of all, you are a African American woman in America where there's not a ton of African Americans that are Catholic. That's also interesting. And third of all, you're down with everything the Catholic Church teaches, which is pretty hard to find sometimes. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. So let me help answer some of those misconceptions you might have. And then it just kind of snowballed from there with me talking about my journey, sharing what I'm learning, and not just sharing what I'm learning, but what you really have to share, especially with people who might not know anything about Catholicism, is how Catholicism aligns with Scripture. That's what they want to know. If you if you just come to it from a point of, well, this is the church that Christ established, they're always going to say, okay, where do you see that in Scripture? Where is this in Scripture? Where is that in Scripture? So you have to become well versed in the Bible, and you have to know what the early church fathers meant when they said this and how it connects to Scripture. And that takes a lot of studying. It takes a lot of sleepless nights so that you can help people answer their questions. And it takes a lot of patience and guidance because there are people who come to me with all kinds of different issues or problems, or they want to know, how did you become Catholic and your husband's not Catholic? So how are you dealing with that? They want to know all these things. And so it takes being super intentional about answering every single question that I possibly can, because if it's one answered question that leads them to the church, then I'm fine with that.
We kind of joked about like kept trying to like court you to like so that to become Catholic. But
Yeah.
I actually think like looking at it in what you're doing now, like that's in one way like that's even the best part because your story has so much depth because you it wasn't like you were born and raised Catholic.
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is just what I knew, and so that's why I'm
Right.
doing it. Like you explored all the different options out
I
there.
tried everything.
Right. And it's like, and you still landed at this. And so like when someone says like, yeah, well, what it took, well, I explored that.
Yes.
And so you have, when you speak, you have so much depth to what you're saying. It's not just coming from this like, and this is not to diminish because I'm a cradle Catholic, but you have more depth to your story and your conversion and your passion about the faith, because it's not just like what was handed to you. You
Right.
found it for yourself and
I
struggled
had
with
to
it.
choose it. I had
Yeah.
to study it. I had to really, and especially with my situation with my husband, I had to really be sure that this is what I wanted to do and bet my life on. And I think it was like maybe a week before I was confirmed, my husband just joked around and he was like, all right, don't go changing your mind now. Like, this is a serious thing. And I told him, I said, Richard, I will die Catholic. And I'm
That's
serious
awesome.
about that. Because I have done everything. I've seen everything. I've been a part of everything to, like I said, God bless my husband because he's seen it all. But I landed in Catholicism because it's true. It just is. I've done all the things.
Yeah.
Catholicism is true.
And I think, I don't know if it's modern habits or just in general, where like we as like people, like humans, are trying to find the perfect thing.
Yeah.
The perfect job, the perfect
Yes.
car, the perfect whatever, and the perfect spouse. I remember I saw a young, like a college age girl on social media saying like something to the effect of, you're gonna people are trying to discern if it's the right person to marry. She's like, let me just tell you this: you're gonna marry the wrong person.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yes.
Because it's the marriage is supposed to make you holy
Holier.
and
Yeah.
not to make you like the happiest. And you become happy by trying to be holy in that self-sacrificing to your spouse, regardless of the situation. That's what we're called to,
Yeah.
and obviously Richard's doing a great, he's not, was he religious at all? Like anything?
So his mom, wow, actually, his mom is actually the one who also, this was right before my dream of Mary. His mom is a devout Christian, and he decided that's not what he wanted, but his mom is very much so a believer. I think she was Baptist growing up, but right before I had my dream about Mary, we were in Denver, and she was talking to me about just trusting Jesus. And at the time I was kind of like, okay, because I wasn't there yet.
You're still doing tarot.
I'm still doing my tarot stuff. And her faith, with just the confidence that she felt in that while I was still going through spiritual unrest, I was just like, how can you be so comfortable right now? Like, what is that? And so she's actually the one who got my brain to start thinking just a little bit. And then after that, I had my dream for Mary, and then it just snowballed. So, she is a devout Christian, but my husband decided that wasn't for him. He's Jamaican, and Jamaican churches are very different. He always would complain, like, I sat there for 3-4 hours and, they're just still going on and he's still got a word to give. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. But his experience was not like it is now. So I think that once he realized in America that there were different churches that you could be a part of, I think he was okay with going, even though I was church hopping. He was like, it's like an hour tops. It's fine. Like, I'll go. And then, but, no, he, at this moment, though, he does not ascribe to anything. But what I will say is that he deeply respects Catholicism, and he learns along with me. And he would never go up in the time when I'm receiving the Eucharist, he would never go up and receive a blessing. And just this past Easter, he started going up and receiving blessings, which does not sound like a big deal, but if you know my husband, that's a big deal. So
awesome.
something's turning in his heart. But what I also know, and actually someone just asked me this on social media yesterday, my husband won't convert. He won't do this. I'm trying to get him, okay, don't push. The more you push, the worse it's going to be. I had to learn that the hard way when I was Protestant. And now that I'm Catholic, God's been like, stop talking. Talk to everyone else on social media, but live your life, live your best Catholic life, participate in the sacraments, do what you know you're supposed to do, immerse yourself in the church, and people will see, whether it's your husband, your wife, your cousin, whoever, they will see that your life is changing, and they'll ultimately, decide they want to be a part of that or not. But, they might be a little bit more respectful towards your journey for sure.
Yeah. I like to don't push because oftentimes we'll talk to people that, their kids are falling away from the church, more adult parent, or they have adult kids now. And it's like, it's a wound for them. And it's like, I can't imagine how it feels to have, my kids are still young, so they're
Yeah.
forced to go to church.
Yes.
I hope that, but it's like, to love someone so much, whether it's your kids, whether it's your spouse or a different family member, and not, be able to share the faith with them. But it's like, that's the reality for a lot of people. And so
Yes.
your advice would be, don't push.
Mm-mm.
And anything else, and that's
To be the best Catholic you can be. Show by the way that you're living your life what you're learning, the graces that you're receiving through the sacraments. Live out your life with gentleness, patience, kindness, all those fruits of the Spirit, because really that's what's going to speak to people more than you going to Mass every Sunday.
Yeah.
Going to Mass is so that you can spend time and, in worship and in the presence of the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
which is definitely beneficial for our soul. And we have to go to Mass every Sunday. We get to go to Mass every Sunday. But
sometimes it feels like we.
Yeah. Sometimes we get to go to Mass every Sunday.
I got to tell my kids that.
Yeah, you get to go. That's what I tell my
go.
son. I'm like, isn't it so fun? He's 5, so like I have to make everything so exciting. Isn't it so exciting? We get to go to Mass today. We're going to see Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament. Oh my goodness. And then you're going to get to do your Catholic coloring pages. And then if you're a good boy afterwards, I'll give you a cookie. Like, that's what it sounds like most Sundays. But yeah, we get to go to Mass, and people are going to see more of how you treat others and how you are living out your faith yourself than they're going to see about you just talking about going to Mass and talking about being Catholic. So I think it's important not to push. Let your life lead that. And as they ask questions, because they will, because eventually they'll get curious, whether it's in a respectful tone or not, they'll be curious about something. And you just be ready. I think just this past Sunday, it was the Bible verse where Paul talks about always be ready to explain the hope that you have in Christ. Just be ready.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's easier in some fashions to share the gospel to people you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder to live the gospel to your family.
Because they know you too well.
And, it's not, you could put on with strangers, right? And
exactly.
but you can't put on at home, at least not all the time. And that's where like it's really lived. It's like, how is your faith if it's lived out in your home?
Yes.
And that's what God calls us to. And so it has to start.
Starts in our family first.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So let's come back. The 30 days posting every day leading up to becoming Catholic. And then like, what are those last, 5 days, week, and then the actual day?
So a week before I became Catholic, I was just so excited. There was nothing else I could talk about. It was like word vomit. All I wanted to do was talk about becoming Catholic. Oh, and I would just tie everything into it. Oh yeah, you have an orange cat? Like, did you know that in the Catholic Church? And they're like, that has nothing to do with what I just said. But I was just so excited, and people were excited for me too, which was very helpful because I have friends that have considered becoming Catholic, but their family has not been supportive. And thank you, Jesus. I have such a supportive mother, stepfather, husband, everybody. Not everyone has talked to me in my family, extended family and stuff about becoming Catholic. But even my husband's family, they find themselves asking me questions like, so what do they believe and what do they do? And so it's cool. I feel like I get to witness to people that I know, but also just trying to live my life as authentically as possible, because I also do mess up all the time. I mean, we're human. Thank God for confession. So, but yeah, so one of the things that as someone who was about to become Catholic that I really just wanted to hone in on was authenticity. I wanted to share that even though this is super exciting, there's other parts that come with this, right? So I was just trying to be as authentic as possible, continue to share what I'm learning, but also continue sharing about what people were saying. I got really, really negative comments about me becoming Catholic, not from people that I knew personally, so, it didn't really matter, but from people who thought they knew of my life, making comments like, I swear when people become Catholic, they become dumber. Things like that. Who was it in the Bible? Was it St. Paul? He said, if I'm foolish, then I'm foolish for Christ. Like, I don't even care. Like, if what you think I'm saying is foolish, then it's because of Jesus and I'm fine with that. Like, that's how it is. But I get messages like that almost every day. It's fine. At some point, you just have to, my priest, like I said, he's my spiritual advisor. He's like, you just have to have thick skin and you have to keep moving because you're on a mission, right? Can't be too bogged down with that. But I was sharing how authentic my experience was, and then just everything leading up to that. I had a little reception at my house after my confirmation. And so I documented that experience of my friend who was in OCIA and got confirmed without me on Pentecost. She came and she helped me set up my house for my confirmation party. And we prayed, we laughed, we had fun, we set things up. It was just such a beautiful experience. And then when I became Catholic, I bawled my eyes out. Like, almost all of my pictures from my confirmation are just like me crying, very Kim Kardashian ugly cry, like just like, all over. And I think it was because I finally felt at rest. I finally was just like,
You made it.
I made it. I've done a lot of random things in my life, but I have made it. And the people that if I was to have gotten confirmed in June, some of these people I didn't even know. I had more people than I ever thought at my confirmation to support me in November. And I felt like God was saying, see what happens when you listen. See what happens when you obey. See the people that love you and care for you, even if they're not Catholic. Do you see the people that have come to support you? It was just such a beautiful experience. So, of course, like, the day after I became Catholic, it became this thing on social media because I just said, shopping while being Catholic. Like, I was like so excited, tying my shoe while being Catholic. And everyone was just so excited for me too. So it was a beautiful experience. But not everybody gets to have that experience, which I'm also very aware of, because some people have to they're like closeted Catholics. They have to do this without their family knowing or friends knowing, all kinds of things.
Who was your confirmation saint?
Saint Monica.
Saint Monica. How can we pick Saint Monica?
Because she prayed for her husband's conversion. She's also the patron saint of abuse victims, by the way.
Really?
Not a lot of people, they know her for her son, obviously, and then for the conversion of her husband, but for abuse victims, because her husband was actually extremely abusive to her before he became a Christian.
Really?
And so she prayed and prayed and prayed for years for him to accept Christ. I mean, he was a drunkard. He slept around on her, abused her. He was a terrible man, but he finally became Christian towards the end of his life. And so she was proud that God had finally answered her prayers in that. But even through that, St. Augustine still was like, no, I'm not doing that. And he went on to be the person he was. Very promiscuous, doing things that he had no business doing. And I see myself in Saint Monica and in her son, because I've been both of those people at the same time, or at some point in my life. And so Saint Monica prayed for years for Saint Augustine, and it looked like there was no hope. And he finally converted to Catholicism and became probably the largest saint in the world. So my prayer is that, like God used Saint Monica to convert hearts, even if it was just the hearts of her family members, that God would use me to do the same thing in the way that my life shows it, even if it seems like I'm praying and nothing is happening, to continue with that perseverance. That's why I picked Saint Monica, because who better? I mean, I saw that in my mom, being a single mom, her perseverance and her struggle, and just having that example. And now I have a spiritual bestie, Saint Monica, to help me with the same thing.
Perseverance. I feel like that's a lost art in this modern age, of just like sticking with something, especially when you don't see the progress. That's the hard part.
And I already told you I have a hard time doing that. So Saint Monica, we're like this. Please.
Good.
Yeah.
So your journey, I mean, because you post pretty regularly on social. I'm kind of curious more on, I don't say a technical side, but a storytelling side. Like, how did you learn? Because you do it so well. Like, a lot of people post on social media. A lot of them don't know how to do it that well. Like, how did you learn how to be such a good storyteller and do this in a way that like is so compelling?
That's a good question. I really do believe you said something earlier about being an educator and how we are conditioned or taught to explain information to people. And I think it comes a lot from that because I'm already a goofy, very silly person. Mix that with the fact that I love to teach people things. It kind of just, people want to see real people doing real things, explaining things in a way that makes sense to them.
Mm-hmm.
But also, what I will say is that my husband, who is not Catholic at all, is a big help with this because he is my biggest cheerleader. And so when I think that I want to talk about something, he's like, yeah, you should. And then, he's learning alongside with me and, we're hoping that turns into something, but
I'm sure it will.
but yeah, so as I'm learning, I've got my hype man husband and I've got the background knowledge of how to communicate things with people because as a teacher, you have to communicate things in a way that sticks with children. And it's not going to be the same with every kid, right? There's developmental practices, there's differentiation. You have to be able to know, okay, this is what this kid needs, but this same kid's in my classroom and I have to talk to them in this specific way. And it's hard work.
Yeah.
But when you find something that connects all people, regardless of their level or understanding or whatever, wherever they are in their spiritual journey, you find what works for them. And it's not that people don't want to understand hard concepts. They do, especially those that are really craving truth. They just need to be able to understand it in a way that doesn't sound like they're reading a textbook. So my biggest thing is, how can I sit down and think about ways that I can take this really hard concept and break it down however I need to break it down so that people understand. And then also, if I can add a little humor or if I can say something that, that will get their attention to help them realize, like, this is actually a silly thing that people think that Catholics believe. And we actually don't believe that. Whatever it takes to spread the gospel, as long as I'm not, spreading lies about the church or compromising my integrity or anything like that, I think that that's what resonates with people. You have to meet them where they are. And one thing, too, about my husband is that he's a very outgoing and charismatic person, too. So if I think about something, he might say, well, what if you say it like this? And I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. So we're teaming up, we're partnering, and he doesn't know it yet. But this is going to be big for him, too. We're hoping, we're praying.
Well, it's like just being around something so much. There's a natural, who knows how God's going to work in his life, but just seeing where it's going, and it's like it would make sense out of that the trajectory where it's going to land, by you, the witness that you're giving, the joy you're giving, and just seeing how God's working in that, in the perseverance of sticking with this, versus anything else. Like it's like, okay, you found that spot. Where I guess kind of staying on your social media for a minute, what's your handle? People haven't seen it
At a Sacred Faith.
on Instagram.
Yes, at a Sacred Faith on Instagram and TikTok.
On TikTok, okay. Which one? Actually, I'm curious. Which one do you find more? I would say interactions with.
Definitely Instagram.
Yeah.
TikTok is there are two different platforms for two different. The platforms are for different kinds of videos, in my opinion. I think that the educational videos are more definitely Instagram. People go on Instagram to learn and to get insight and to watch people's experiences with things. TikTok is more of like a funny area, which I think is great and works too. It's more of the creative side of videos. Whereas, not saying you can't be creative on Instagram, but Instagram is definitely more of the education avenue, in my opinion, and what I've seen and gathered. But I love both of them. But Instagram is where I really connect with people, which is why I love it too, because the messages that I get on Instagram are way more than the messages that I get on TikTok. And that's the community that I'm building there on Instagram. So I think that's why Instagram's been such like a powerful spot there. But what I will say is that anytime I'm on both platforms and I find myself wanting to post something super, super important, I always go to Instagram. I might not even post it on TikTok. So there are definitely some videos that don't even make it on TikTok that are just on Instagram because of that avenue of education there.
Yeah. And, it's, I mean, Instagram itself is what is it, like 10 years old, or no, it's for
12,
15,
let's see. I think 2013? Is that when Instagram?
I think so, because I remember when I met my wife, she was on Instagram. I didn't know what it was or something. And I was like, wait, what?
What's Instagram?
Yeah.
It was either 2012 or 2013. I was in college at the time for
Yeah.
undergrad.
No, I think it's right. It was right in
Yeah.
that area. And so, something that's relatively new, but it's like, the church, there's like a quote that says the church thinks in centuries,
Mhm.
so the church, historically has been always championing the arts years ago, cathedrals, sculptures, beautiful paintings. But then as technology has moved to the scene, it's been slow, where the Protestant world has grabbed stuff very quickly.
Yes.
And so I think the church as a whole, like the church being the Catholic Church, has been slow.
Yes.
But what's been beautiful to see is people like yourself, creators that have lived the faith, that are taking these platforms very seriously. Because I would say you take it very seriously.
Yes.
And you're leading so many people towards God with it. And it's like, it's something to not be taken lightly. The responsibility, now that you have the platform, it's like people are looking at you.
Yes.
And I maybe just speak to like a little bit of that pressure too, of like, because now it's like, all right, it's legit, I got it. Like, is it hard sometimes? Or I just love to hear your experience of that.
Yeah. I think that for me, it is hard because I'm also a big softie. So I don't ever want to disappoint anyone, but then I have to, like I said, I have to have thick skin. But that's when I do have my spiritual director in place, because without my priest checking in on me regularly, I could see why people go down a rabbit hole of actually losing their faith after being a content creator that focuses on faith. I could see why that would happen, because not only do you have negative things coming from people that aren't even Catholic, but you also have negative things that are coming from people who are Catholic, who are a part of your circle, and they didn't like this top that you wore, or you said this one thing wrong, or it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But one thing about me, I've always worked good under pressure. To me, that just shows me that I'm still learning, I'm still teaching, I'm still helping people. I don't see it as something bad, I see it as a challenge. And if somebody lovingly wants to know information, I'm always there to answer. But one thing you'll never see me do is answer anything negative. I never answer negative comments. You can go and tap all day long, I'm not going to answer it. And I think that's a way of me protecting my peace. Because if you're truly seriously wanting to know something, I'm happy to help. But if not, then I leave that to God. I pray for you and I leave that to God to show you eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. And it took me a while actually to even say that what I was doing was a ministry. That felt weird to me, because when I was first starting out, it was just an experience of sharing my experience. And it took my priest going, actually, you know who the first person that said it to me was? Sister Josephine.
Oh, really?
She was the first person to call this a ministry for me. And I read that and I was like, ministry? I have a ministry? No, that's weird.
Ministries meet in groups,
right?
Like stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't have a ministry. Why did Sister Josephine just say that? But then I started thinking about it, and then I talked to my priest about it. He's like, that is a ministry.
Yeah.
When you are using what the Lord has blessed you with as far as gifts like teaching and speaking, when you're using that for the glory of God and you are teaching people about Jesus, that's a ministry. And I thought, man, that's a lot of pressure. Yeah. But yeah, it is too, because I also know that scripture says that those who teach, they're responsible now for, I'm not responsible for making people Catholic, but only God can take the seeds that I've planted and make that bloom. But I am responsible for how I live my life and the things that I say to match up to what I say online, to be in my private life as well, and to have those fruits of the Spirit show. So yeah, it's pressure, but also it's good pressure for me because it keeps me accountable.
Yeah.
It keeps me on track and focused. If I ever start to lose faith in something, I look at it more of, this is just something that the Lord's getting me through because he got me here. There's no way there's no way I'm going to mess any of this up. He got me to this point right now. It's kind of like you said earlier, when you know the truth and you're like, man, life would be so much easier if I could just X, Y, Z. No way.
Yeah.
Life is better when God is involved in everything that you do. So, yeah.
Being under pressure, like having there's a spotlight on the fact that you take that as a good thing, I think that's beautiful, because I certainly pray for you and other creators too, because it's not easy. Like it's and I could also imagine the pressure to keep making new stuff too. And like, okay, where that
you always have to think of new ways to teach the same concepts, because but the beauty about the Catholic Church is that there is so much to talk about, especially people who are learning about the Catholic Church and they're like me when I was first learning, and you just want to dive down into everything. There's so much to talk about. But eventually, you have to figure out how to talk about things in ways that do not compromise who you are. And I see people falling in that pattern all the time, where there are certain videos that get lots of views, and to me, I don't ever want to get to the point where I feel like I have to fight people or debate people for them to understand Jesus. I just want to share what I'm learning. I want to share what the church teaches. I want to share the sacred faith of the Catholic Church, how its roots go down so deep. And if that's not enough to convince you and we have to debate, then I'm just not your girl.
Yeah. I respect that so much. I wish more people were like that, 'cause I think the divisive stuff or the sensational stuff.
Yes.
It's like, well, people like that got more views. It's like, that doesn't mean
at what cost?
Yeah. At what cost? What cost? Yeah. It's yeah. I don't know. I have some strong opinions on some of that stuff too. Sometimes I feel like, okay, just chasing views. You're not you're not doing this for the reason I think you should be.
100%.
Well, before we move on from the social media stuff, 2 questions. One, is your audience mostly do you find yourself engaging like non-Catholics? And then second, like, was there a video, maybe it's something similar where you didn't expect it to do so well, where like it really so if you could talk either of those.
So I have probably a half and half mixture. Actually, I have half non-Catholics and half Catholics, but most of the Catholics that I do have are Catholics who were never catechized very well. They are still like, wait, that's what our church teaches? I'm learning so much from you. I've been Catholic my whole life. I've never heard this before. And so that's what I see a lot, which is beautiful, because I think sometimes when you grow up in it, it's hard to have this fresh perspective. And then on the opposite end, I'm like, you guys have been sitting on this gold. How have you not been looking at this and sharing this and thinking about this? How have you not gone into the rabbit hole of Eucharistic miracles? You still have Catholics who don't even believe that the Eucharist is the body and blood of Jesus Christ. What? So I think that my audience here are people that are really hungering, whether they are not Catholic or if they are Catholic, and they just want to know more about their faith, because maybe they left and they're coming back or something like that. But I do have a video that I did not expect to do this well. It's actually probably my top liked viewed video. I did a video on the do's and don'ts of Mass.
I've seen that one.
I never thought that video would be. I was just being silly.
It's like a fun and it's a
I was just being silly, but that video is something that people still talk about to this day, whether it's in a good way or a bad way. I've heard all ends.
What would they say bad about it? You should come late to Mass? I mean, I do, so sorry. I know it's not right.
Right. No, they are like, you should just be happy I showed up. Like, you shouldn't have these rules. I've never seen anyone genuflect before they get into the pew at my church. You don't have to do that. You're going to keep people from coming to the church with all of your rules. And to me, I'm like, listen, and I get it. Someone who just became Catholic is coming online and telling other people, but that was not a video where I wanted to point fingers. It was a video to educate, because you do have Catholics that have been Catholic their whole life and they have never known some of the things or even the reason behind why we genuflect before we get into the pew, or that you don't just genuflect towards the cross. You actually find where the tabernacle is and genuflect. All of those things that they didn't really know. And so anything that I ever do, it's never to make someone feel bad for their faith. It's simply to share what I'm learning. And I'm
Yeah.
always going to share what the Catholic Church teaches, whether you do it or not, that's okay. But this is what the church says we should do.
It's I've seen recently, and I don't agree with it, which where they're like, oh, right, people that like have just is essentially kind of what we're just saying, like
I know what you're about to say.
because
Oh
I mean,
my
if you're on
gosh.
Instagram, like I'm on,
Yes.
they're like, leave it to the people that have been around for long enough, and it's like,
I've gotten those very comments.
and I was kind of so I'm on your side, so just FYI.
Good.
So, but I look at it like this. Okay, sure, I understand what you're saying, and if someone's trying to like if they just got the faith and they're trying to yes, there's a reason of like maybe someone who's known it for a while, but it's a big but.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that just comes to faith like yourself, you're viewing it in new ways that you've seen things that like for example, you probably got in here and you're like, oh, I wonder what that thing is. And I've been here a bunch of times, and so everything just kind of looks normal.
Right.
Like I'm just like and like forget about stuff.
Yeah.
And so like you're seeing the faith brand new, and so you have a perspective that most Catholics or people that have been Catholic for their whole life or a long period of time are missing.
Right.
We're just missing it because we've been there, and it's like, oh yeah, I don't know, we just do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like there's room for both.
Yeah.
It's not an either or.
Yes.
It's not like just have this and not that. And obviously there's a place in different things. And like, should someone like yourself go teach the doctoral, program and a thing on theology? Yeah, maybe not.
No.
Maybe you need a little, I don't know.
No.
But like you can do Instagram videos,
Right.
but you can do like, and especially when it comes from a personal reflection of it.
Yes.
So let's just find the haters and go, I'm Italian, so I got a baseball bat over there. And yeah, I don't know. So just teeing that up a little bit.
So these are my thoughts on it. I think that it can't be a one size fit all type of thing. There are people who have probably just been confirmed or not confirmed at all that probably should not have platforms because they're still learning, they're still growing, and that is totally fine. But I also do think that there are people who have dedicated their time in their life to studying this. This is no easy decision for someone trying to become Catholic. You go into all of the ins and outs as to what that looks like and what your life now needs to look like. Because even from Protestant denominations, your beliefs are different from denomination to denomination. So you're coming to somewhere where the church believes this one thing, and you have to study the ins and outs as to why they believe these core beliefs, right? And it's no like, oh, well, I'm Catholic, but I believe more of the Presbyterian view. This is what the Catholic Church teaches. And so when you have people that are dedicated to understanding, to teaching that, and to constant faith formation, that's what makes it different than someone that's just, I'm Catholic, so now I want to teach you how to be Catholic, and I have no idea. I don't even look up anything myself. I'm just Googling everything. I do think that it is a good idea to pick up a book.
Yeah.
Like, that is important. But there are people who don't want to pick up the book. And that's okay too. Maybe their life is not in the situation where they have the time. So guess what? Kristen's going to pick up the book. Kristen's going to learn about it so that I can teach it to you in a way until you have time to pick up the book on the Eucharist, or you have time to pick up the book on church doctrines or read the catechism, So I'm doing that work until you have that time. And if I'm doing it and you don't need to, or you don't want to, or whatever the case is, I don't see anything wrong with that. Now, I've recently actually had someone tell me, you've been Catholic for 2 seconds. Have several seats.
Have several seats?
Have several seats. It kind of just means like, go sit down somewhere. You have no business telling someone, how to be Catholic. But to that, I say, the good thing is that the Catholic Church believes what the Catholic Church believes. I don't have to be Catholic for a long time to tell you what the church believes, because it is what it is. So you can disagree with that as a Catholic if you would like to. But the church that you are a part of teaches this very thing. And so I'm just simply giving you that information. Yeah.
Well, going back to speaking the language of it, I think like, okay, I'm thinking in my head, people that like are theologians were probably on the older side, right?
Yeah.
Just like, whatever walk of life, but they're probably, 70 plus.
Right.
God bless them. Good stuff. And they're doing good stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. But a young person might not, like, it just might not be palatable for them, or especially
Right.
someone coming from, some new age spirituality.
Mhm.
Like, God entered your life. It was a witness, like you're witnessing back of what he did. And so, like, unless you're doing something heretical, which you're
Mhm.
not,
Right.
or any, not just you, but like any creative,
Anyway,
that's-
yeah.
whether they're
Mhm.
Catholic for a minute or 10 years, if they're teaching the faith, the most important thing is it's authentic,
Right.
which it is,
Mhm.
from you specifically. And you're being a witness, and it's people. I mean, just like the same, like if I see another guy with like tattoos talking about Jesus, like I might be more like, oh, okay,
Inclined to
yeah,
right.
we're another dad, like, right?
Yep.
There's similarities, and so people find similarities with you, and you're gonna bring those people, and that other people can't. It's just like
Yes.
how the world works.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry.
That's just how it works. I
And-
mean, you wanna see somebody who has some similarities to you, teaching or speaking about things that are also important to you or things that you might be curious about.
Right.
And so I think it is important to get outside of your comfort zone and get to know different people
course,
and all
yeah.
of that stuff. But naturally, just like natural human tendency is to find someone that you can relate to in some way, shape, or form. I'm definitely going to relate more to someone who's a mom than someone who's not a mom because that's something that we can connect on and something
Yeah.
we can talk about.
I just want to affirm what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I know that can be challenging, especially challenging when it's in one way coming from within the church.
Yes.
Like, it's one thing to have criticism outside of the church,
and then I'm like,
because you're
okay.
like, I expect that.
Right, yes.
But in the church, you're like, so I mean, even just a small story of Spirit. So what this is right now, Spirit Juice Studios wouldn't exist. It was a radio show when it first, like the first iteration back in like 2005, and we were kicked off the air. And so like the radio thing just died then, like overnight.
Wow.
And if it wasn't for that, and so it caused this, like, it was probably like 7, 8 months, maybe even longer, maybe 9 months, until it became what it is now. And so sometimes, and that came from, just call it like within the church.
Mhm.
We didn't do anything bad. It was kind of more of like a political, not like politics, but just
Right. Just
like how things had
yes.
it's a different story, different day. But and it was hard. It was like a wound from within the church in a way. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, but you recalibrate and move on. So, I just say that to hopefully give you, if you are getting whatever that, like, just keep pushing forward, keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
You're on a mission. There's fruit in it. My mom always says, like, well, look at the fruit of what you're doing. If there's fruit in it, then that's from
But
God.
that's good. Yep.
So
Anytime it starts to get negative or you start seeing things dying down in a way that it's dying down because you're not being true to the Lord, then yeah. But anytime it's just, I had someone comment once on the dress that I wore for Christmas, which was not at all anything crazy, but I was not covered up enough for them. It was nothing crazy. Oh my goodness. But they had a problem with it. So people are always just going to find something.
mhm.
But my mission stays the same. If what you saw was a dress and not someone experiencing their first Catholic Christmas, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for that. I think that I do a pretty good job of, before I release anything, I always make sure it aligns with the church. There's not one video that I ever put out where I'm like, I'm not really sure if this aligns with what the church teaches, but I'm going to put it out anyway. I'm always going to make
good.
sure.
Okay, so we're gonna go back to the beginning. Just gonna kind of fill in some gaps of your whole
Okay.
story. So,
Yeah.
just like your early life, growing up, siblings, brother, sister, what did that look like? Just kind of like
Yes.
as you were younger.
So I have one sister and she is 10 years younger than me.
Okay.
We are complete opposites in every way possible, but we love each other. So it's still great.
Nice. Was 10 years, because it's funny, my oldest is 10 years old, and we're like, well, I want another kid. I was
Yeah.
like, it's a big gap.
It's a
How was
huge
that
gap.
growing up, having 10 years? Because like,
You grow up like an only child, really.
yeah.
If that's your only other sibling, like if there's
Mhm.
kids in the middle and stuff, like it's not that bad, but we only have each other. So we were in different phases of our life. I'm off at college. She's still in elementary school,
Mm.
So I think we're just now getting to the point now that we're both adults, she's 24 and I'm about to be 34, we're both getting to the point where we're like, okay, wait a minute. Like we have a lot in common because we're growing up and we work jobs and, we have houses. Like, we're starting to connect a lot more. Definitely, for sure.
Is she married or yet?
No. She's, I can't imagine my sister. She's going to kill me. I can't imagine her ever getting married. She's like, ew, marriage, ew, kids. No, she does not want that. That we are completely different, opposites in every way possible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how like you grow up with someone and then it's just like
You have the same parents and yet somehow
it's so
they're
different.
so different.
Yeah. What's your relationship with your mom look like now? Do you guys talk regularly? Like I'd love to hear just how that
Yeah.
looks.
So I have a great relationship with my mom. She's my best friend. And I think it's because she did have me at a young age that we're so close. But I also had to get to a point at some point where I didn't call her for everything. I had to be a big girl. I had a boyfriend at the time or a fiance at the time, and we had to rely on each other. So there was a shift that happened where, our bond kind of weakened is not a good word. It's just, as you get older, you can't rely on your mommy anymore. So, but I still do rely on her. She watches my son a lot for me. So.
Does she live close then?
No, she actually lives in Alabama. So,
Okay.
but like a 3.5 hour drive, it's not bad at all. So she
Nice.
comes regularly to visit.
Nice.
Mhm.
It is like as you get older, there is a certain point where it's like, okay, when do you stop? Like, and some of it's
Oh, I
self-imposed and
know.
other stuff. It's like, and it's hard like to
Yeah.
have that. And then your father. Have you ever talked to him, or is it not a?
I probably haven't talked to my father since I was 18.
Okay.
And before that, it was very sporadic. The one and only time I actually remember spending a lot of time with him was when I was about 15 or 16. Um, but it's one of those people. I've just heard Father Josh say something about forgiveness, and it explained perfectly how I feel about my father, my biological father, that is. And my stepdad's great, but um, he said that forgiveness is not the same thing as accepting everything that they've done and you just forgive and forget. It's actually, are you willing to pray for them? And are you willing to, if need be, share the gospel and just be decent to them? That's forgiveness. That doesn't mean we allow people to continue to manipulate us. It just means that we've forgiven them and we're moving on towards God and we pray that they do the same. And that's exactly how I feel about him. I think that a lot of the issues that happen in my life has a lot to do with his absence. So when I talk about like really influential people in my life, the two people that are influential in my life are my mom and my birth dad for completely different reasons. My mom, because she was this incredible figure of resilience, and him because of his absence, because his absence is what led me to finding Christ. So, however, it sucked. I'm not gonna lie. Growing up without my dad was terrible, but it definitely opened the doors for me to seek Jesus. So in that way, I can respect it. But I have an amazing stepdad though, who's been in my life since I was like 13.
Well, that's good. Yeah. Do you how you view your husband in relation to your dad? Is there like, just knowing some people that like have had absences, but then they get married and there's like certain things. Is there, have you guys talked? Is like, where does that look like, in your own marriage?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely talked about it a lot. Just different aspects of my life too that because of who I am, I'm an outgoing person. I think that most people would not look at me and think that I had the story that I have. But my husband actually sometimes forgets that that's my story. He forgets that my father was absent. He forgets that a family member abused me. He forgets all of those things because of who I am today. But there are times where you remember something and it affects your relationships and it all comes crashing back to you. When I'm at just my everyday life, sometimes I even forget, to be quite honest, because I am so enwrapped in moving forward with what God has for me. But then there's times where it could be like one small trigger, something that happens that brings me back to either wound. And so then that's when my husband's like, wow, okay, you know, he's lived a pretty great life, so I hate him for it. Like, he's lived a pretty great life, so sometimes I have to, like, be like, "So this is what it was like?" And he's like, "Really? Wow. Oh my gosh." But just to give you a story, this is when my husband and I were probably a year into dating, so I might have been 23, 24, and my biological father reached out to me, said that he wanted to hang out with me because I was going to New York to see my best friend. My best friend lives in New York, and he lives in Philly, so he's like, "I'm just gonna take the train, blah, blah, blah." I was like, "Okay." To me, I know that that means it's not happening.
Oh,
We're
really?
talking a bunch of stuff, it's not happening. But at the time, Richard, my husband, he's like, "Oh, your dad's gonna come. This is amazing. Then you guys can talk about this and you guys can." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, sure." Um, so we get to New York and he doesn't show up. Shocker. Shocker. And my husband was dumbfounded. He said, I don't even know what to say. I thought he was coming." I was like, "Yeah, that was me when I was 8, standing at the window looking for him." That Yeah, that's how it has been. So my husband does not understand that, and it was at that very moment in our relationship that he went, okay, because he's never been raised with anything like that. His father's very involved in his life. He has both parents, like, they both loved him very well. He's Jamaican, so it's a big, very big family, almost very close to Italian families. Like, that is not heard of. So it was a shock for him, but he definitely helps me deal with it. And it has shown up in our marriage at some points, but I think for the most part, I've been really good about, compartmentalizing, like, this was my life and this is my life. Even so much so where my mom, being a single mom, will give advice sometimes that is geared towards somebody that's in survival mode. But that doesn't necessarily apply to my life because I'm not in survival mode. So I have to listen to that and nod and say, okay, and take it for what it is. But then I also have to allow God to work on my marriage the way that, you know, I need it to be worked on because I'm in a different situation than my mom was in.
Yeah. Gosh, it's gotta be, it's like out of like a movie where it's like kids waiting, the 8-year-old,
Hmm.
like the parent doesn't show up. Um,
That's real life.
yeah.
That's real life.
And then that kid, your like husband just like, he was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna meet him," and then just like he got that
He got a taste
taste.
of it. Yeah. He still thinks about it. He's like, I can't believe that we went to New York and he never showed up. I'm like, you're more disappointed than I am.
Like this is you grew like callous to it, but I think
Yeah.
what is beautiful is that you've also grown. You're not like I think you could have that expectation for everyone around you, and it seems like you've grown so much where it's like that's a situation for certain things, but
Yeah.
like you don't bring that to everything
Right.
else.
I can't because it'll stifle me.
Yeah.
I will never do anything if I allow my abuse or even the experience of having an absent father to control my life because if what I'm doing is really a mission from God,
Mm-hmm.
if I allow those things to control me, that mission gets pushed back. And I'm not saying that people should just like get over it, get over it. That happened forever ago because you'll never get over those things. But
Yeah.
um, it's definitely something that takes a lot of patience with yourself, therapy, prayer, all of the things. Just being able to put yourself separate outside of that and say, actually, I can use this for the glory of God
Mm.
instead of dwelling on what happened in the past.
Maybe just for a minute, like, what would you say to someone that is sort of like still living and like they have a wound from the childhood,
Mm.
whether from a parent or something, but of that, and they're it's showing up in their life now. Like, I guess what advice would you give to them just to whether they're religious or not,
Right.
to I don't say move past it, but to like not let it control.
Keep going day by day.
Yeah.
To take it day by day. Um, and to forgive because the forgiveness is not for that person. We always hear that the forgiveness is for you. And I am a testament of that. It is for me so that I can live forward. I can move forward. I wish people well. I know that hurt people hurt people.
Yep.
And so I also try to look at it from that perspective. We get really lost in this world. And so when we get lost, angry, confused, we take that out on other people, whether we are responsible for them or not. Sometimes we take it out on them. That's detrimental to that person. And so we have to learn as victims on the other side of that, that, and I'm not saying, just get over it, move on. What I am saying is that you have to use it for a greater purpose. Whatever that is for you, you have to use it for a greater purpose and forgive and keep it pushing, because you will spend your whole life dwelling on the fact that these things happen to you if you don't find some way to make a miracle out of it.
Yeah. Well, then you become the abused becomes the abuser then, because you can't,
Yes.
move past whatever that wound was. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I know it does sound callous, and I'm not saying this is easy, but at some point you got to move on,
Yes.
and you have to let it go, because it's controlling you then.
Yes.
And well, it's beautiful to hear that you've been able to sort of, and it's a lifelong journey, but you've been able to like have that separation there. Um, yeah. How did you meet your husband?
Speaking of Halloween, we met at a haunted house.
All right.
So the mega church that I was going to in Nashville, a group of friends and I went to a haunted house, which are either hit or miss for me. I either find them extremely terrifying or really dumb. So this one to me was really dumb. And so I'm laughing through this whole thing. And he's legitimately scared. I didn't even know him. So we all met up at the haunted house. I didn't know him. And I was like, who is this?
He was just in the group then?
Yeah, he was in the group. I had never met him before. I'd heard people talk about him, but the people that went to our church, he met them at a different event, not at a church event. It was like a Nashville young adults meetup group, like, you graduate, you want to meet new people kind of thing. And they just so happened to go to my church. So we knew them for completely different reasons. But every once in a while, those two groups would meet up to do something together. And I had yet to meet him, but I'd heard about him. And
did you already have like an eye out, or you're like,
no,
it was just he was just a random dude.
I had no idea. I had never met him. I never saw him, nothing. And so saw him there and I was like, who is this really attractive guy? And I was like, he likes that girl over there. He doesn't like me. But you want to know the funny part is that we had the same last name before we got married.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So I added him that night on Facebook, and then he messaged me something incredibly dumb and said something like, are we cousins or are we married and we don't know it yet? I was like, okay, never say that again.
Spelled the same way and everything?
Yeah. Same last name.
I mean, it's not a bad question, just to like double check. I'm sure mistakes have happened.
Well, the thing is that I actually got my last name. No, it's not my biological father's last name.
That makes sense. Well, he doesn't know that. He's like, well,
right, I
double
know,
check.
Right.
I don't want to go down this hole. And
yes.
So you guys met at the haunted house. Was it did you guys add it on Facebook and then start dating then, and then it was like the rest of history?
Actually, we started talking to each other. We weren't actually dating, but because my friend had told me, you don't want to talk to him. He's not even Christian, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, But like I said, I think it's because she liked him. And because of that, I actually told him no, like twice. I was like, no. And he was like, okay. So he stopped. Then we went to a masquerade ball and I was like, man, but he's pretty cute. And he's like, this time you're going to have to ask me out. I've asked you out multiple times.
Yeah.
And you turned me down. But it wasn't my fault. I was led astray. But yeah, then we started dating then. I think our second date ever was Valentine's Day. Our first date, we went to go see American Sniper. I don't really know if that's a date movie, but that's what we went to go see.
Yeah, sometimes those first dates, funny. You're like, you're not sure. You just ends up in stuff and you're like, oh, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
There was, you had talked about a couple of moments sort of like, kind of being like hurt within the church, sort of like in that, like, I've shared some of my, like from my perspective too, like, what would you say to someone that's in the church, that feels sort of hurt from within the church? And
yeah, I think that, like we've talked about, hurt people. And just because someone goes to church does not mean that they are spiritually mature enough to handle your life. And I think that I'm not saying like walk on eggshells and never get to know anybody, but I do think that it's important to fill people out and understand people before you share all of your life with people. But also, there's something really beautiful about being very vulnerable, not caring who you share it to,
Mm-hmm.
because you never know whose life it could change. So I think it just depends on the situation. But church hurt typically happens because somebody is hurt and they decided to hurt you. So always remember that no matter who it's with, Jesus needs to basically be able to reorder the steps there, and you have to rely on him to do that, because it's hard, because you cannot separate people sometimes from God, especially when they claim to be a Christian or claim to be like a big Catholic or whatever. Sometimes it's hard to be like, oh, well, if that person did that, then I'm not going to church. But you also have to remember we are all human. We're human. So I made the mistake of allowing that experience to then get me off on the right path, instead of continuing to seek curiosity within Christianity that probably would have eventually led me to Catholicism. But I don't want anybody else to make that mistake, because the grass is not greener on the other side. You got to figure out how to water your grass within the church before you try to move on to other places.
Yeah. Well, as my mom says, the grass is always greener, but it still has to get mowed.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So,
That's right.
yeah, and I think it's hard to. It's like there's different layers to it too. Like a laity within the church is one thing, but if it's a clergy, whether it's
Right.
Catholicism or other denominations where it's clergy, and there is sort of a hurt from that, it can feel like it's even more
Yes.
like from God, right? It's just like, well, they're representing, especially if it's a priest or
Right.
something, but they're still people, and yeah, I love that you said spiritually mature, because I think no matter who the person is,
Yes.
there's spiritual maturity that comes with
Yeah.
many things. And I mean, even like I think for me, sometimes it shows up where it's like I'll have like a hard day at work, and then I go home, and then I'll raise my voice to the kids, like in a situation that, like, maybe they might have been misbehaving, but
Right.
it didn't warrant the loud dad voice.
I know that feeling.
And you're like, crap.
Why did I do that?
Yeah.
Now they hate me.
Yeah. I know. You go down this like rabbit hole, you're like, but it's like there was like, yeah, it's that hurt people, the spiritual maturity and being able to separate stuff.
Yeah.
And having like that perspective of it too. So yeah, no, I think that's good advice. When you had that dream, I'm curious, how did you know it was Mary? Because you didn't really have these like strong,
Right.
like it wasn't like this, like, oh, I know who Mary is and all this stuff. It's like, how did you know it was even Mary?
I honestly don't know.
You just knew.
I just knew. I knew at that point who it was. And then when she said, follow my son,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, she means Jesus. But also, every depiction I've ever seen of Mary did not, it didn't match up to what was in my dream. Maybe something similar to what was in my dream, but not exactly. But when I saw this person, I just knew. I just knew it was Mary, and I knew that who she was talking about was Jesus. I don't know. I just knew.
Yeah, no,
It just sounds crazy. I just knew.
The cool thing, I mean, it appears with Jesus as well, but I think it's more common I've seen with Marian depictions where, like, based on the culture,
Yes.
she looks like the people of that culture, whether
Yes.
it's, Guadalupe, or even like in China. I spent a good amount of time in China, well, like 2 weeks, but there's like Our Lady of China. She looks Chinese,
Right.
which is obviously she wasn't Chinese
Right.
in the Bible, or like,
Right.
but like, I think it's beautiful because she's a mother to all.
Right.
And so I think she can look very different to whoever,
Right.
because that's, she is our mother, our spiritual mother, but it's still our mother in that way. So,
It's interesting to me. She looked more Middle Eastern. She did.
Well, I think she was.
A
I'm
lighter
like, yeah.
complexion, Middle Eastern is what she looks in my dream. And I can't remember exactly what, I just remember her essence just being very in your face, out there, like bright, so to speak, for a lack of a better term. But I don't remember how I just knew that she was Mary. I just, in my dream, I said, this is Mary, the mother of Jesus.
Yeah.
And she told me to follow her son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Have you, because Marian apparitions are, in the history of the Catholic Church, a very popular thing, whether it's Lourdes, Fatima, Magic
Yes.
Glory. I mean, there's stuff really all over. Have you looked into any more, or like, I'm curious, just kind of like your perspective on Marian apparitions.
Yes, I think that it's so funny. I was just thinking about this morning. I think that they're 100% true. I think that anytime Mary reveals herself, it's because she is trying to connect with that person, like you said, how she reveals herself in different cultures in different ways. Um, I need to look more into them, but the ones that I have studied, especially Our Lady of Fatima, like just who makes something like that up? Especially when you can witness it. Even when Mary appeared, I think it was, oh, don't quote me on this, like 1936, where she appeared in Egypt. And like all these, it was like non-believers, Muslims, Christians, they all saw her appear on the top of a cathedral or a church. Just wow. Like there's too many eyewitnesses to make something like that up. So I am here for the Marian apparitions. I just recently heard somebody say that, like, if people are seeing Mary, then it's the devil. And I was like, I don't think so. I don't think
No.
that's how the devil would ever disguise himself.
No, and I think if you feel like the devil's attacking you, like start to say the Hail Mary, and he'll
Mhm.
like leave instantly because he just doesn't want to be around.
You know, exorcists say that too.
Oh,
Like,
really?
exorcists will tell you that demons hate the Hail Mary. They hate the Rosary. Because think about it, everything that they tried to accomplish was squashed because of Mary, because of her yes. And because she is, outside of Adam and Eve, the only sinless human that they could not touch. So of course they would get frustrated with something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's when I was young, it was Medjugorje where I went to. They had were just Marian apparitions are still happening. And there was a lot of like, I guess you couldn't even go. The masses were only in the church. You couldn't have outdoor masses because apparently there was like black masses, like people were trying,
Oh, yes.
and so they were like, well, to eliminate just the possibility, so they had no outdoor masses, only in the churches, the cathedrals, because like the spiritual attack.
Yes.
That's it gets pretty real. I know we talked about Tara and stuff. It's like, it's I would say it's a slippery slope, but it's things can get pretty crazy pretty quickly.
Yes.
And I think the devil's always trying to edge his way into some of that stuff.
And he's always going to pick something that seems really good, like something that the Lord actually does want to share with us, like deliverance or love or purity. He's going to take all of those things and twist it for his benefit.
Yeah.
So that's why I made the comment earlier about, like, it's not that things are naturally bad, but Satan's going to make something look really great and something that God uses for good. And he's going to make it look so appealing that you want to use it in a way that it's not intended to be used. So it's never, it's never that is evil and I'm going to do that. It always starts out like very innocent.
Right.
And then there's a snowball effect. So, you just have to be aware of those things because it's very easy to get tripped up and, like me, not see any kind of red flags with anything because it looks so appealing. It feels good. It feels good to your ego. It feels good to your soul at that time. And then you realize I feel emptier than I felt before I started doing this. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's when like I was like freshman year, so like I was like, okay, all this God stuff's real. And I felt like though I would do this, but it's like the God stuff is like, okay, I'm doing it. I feel fulfilled. I do the worldly stuff. And I feel unfulfilled.
Yeah.
And it's like, but that looks better.
Right.
And so like it looked, oftentimes sin looks good, feels good for a short bit. And then, but it leaves you just like empty. And it's like, that's where you gotta, trust your gut in that way and trust where God's relying you. I had heard a story you had shared, I think on a different podcast where, when you entered a Catholic church at one point when you were younger, you made the connection where you didn't know what a rosary was.
Yes.
And then could you share that?
Oh, yes. Okay. So this was actually while I was this was actually when I lived in Nashville. I had just moved to Nashville and I told you that I heard the ladies praying the rosary. So I went to a different Catholic church to sit and pray and read my Bible. And I just so happened to see the priest in the sanctuary in the church. And I took out my notebook and I was just writing things down. And I was like, I should ask him for one of those things that the ladies had. They were praying a couple of weeks ago. What is it called? I don't even know. So I like went up to him and I was like, hi, can I have a bead thing? Or no, I said, where do you find a bead, one of those bead things? It was just like, you mean a rosary? Because I didn't know what it was called. I was like, yeah, where can I get one of those? And he was like, well, this particular cathedral or parish had a like Catholic store. And he's like, they sell them in the Catholic store, or you can go online. You can buy them from anywhere. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I guess I'll go look into that later. But he had actually just got done praying his rosary. And I'll never forget it. He said he got it from someone from India. Another one of his like priest friends or something gave it to him from India. He took it out of his pocket and said, but you can have this one.
That's
and I was
awesome.
like this one? And he was like, yeah. And it, from a girl's aesthetic, it was not like the most appealing rosary, but it was still beautiful. You would have loved it. It was all black. You would have loved it. It was all black. And, but still, I just thought in my head at that moment, he doesn't even know me. He could have just been like, go buy a rosary. You can get them from anywhere. Go on Amazon. I don't know. But he pulled the rosary out of his pocket and said, have mine. And it had deep sentimental value to him. Someone from India went and got this rosary for him. So that was the first one of the many planted seeds that, you're just not aware of at the time. It's just little things like that where God's writing your story and you don't see it completely because you're not thinking about it like that. But then when you go back, you're like, okay, I see that God was really, really working, especially getting that rosary and then having a dream later of Mary.
Yeah.
I just put that together like a couple months ago. I was like, oh my gosh, no, you're right. I got this rosary that I didn't even know. I didn't even know that was like, I knew nothing about the rosary, nothing. I just had it. I put it in my car. I hung it up because I thought that's just like what people did if they were Catholic. And I, whatever.
And they don't yell at people when they're driving.
Yeah, exactly. Not everybody. But yeah, I put it up and went on about my life, not even connecting the fact that the rosary had anything to do with Mary. I had no, I didn't know anything like that. So the fact that she appeared to me later in my dream is crazy because that means that there was always going to be some kind of connection there. I heard the ladies praying the rosary. I went to this church and randomly asked for a rosary and got one. I had a dream of Our Lady. It didn't stop. All of it just started adding up.
And the power of sacramentals, like a physical blessed objects, I think are, we underestimate in the same way on the opposite side, right? Like you got rid of the tarot, the crystals, and stuff. It's like, well, for good reason. And so like, if that has power in that way, blessed stuff, sacramental things have power in that way.
Yeah.
So, well, that being said, so in 2014, we filmed in Rome, and we got press stuff. This was when Pope Francis, and so I got like you're Pope Francis and I'm me. Actually, probably a little closer. Like that was closer. We were filming and stuff. So I got a rosary blessed by Pope Francis, and because I was so close, I feel like it's like you get the journal out, you get everything.
Yes,
but I was pretty close. So this is for you.
Are you serious?
Yeah. It's I figured it was, you got
stop it.
It smells like roses too, which I always love the rosaries that.
Oh yes, it does. Stop. This is beautiful. And Pope Francis is the first pope that I ever read a book from.
Really?
Yeah, like I ever read a pope's book, and gosh, this is like full circle, dude.
Oh,
like you don't even know. Thank you so much.
Of course.
This is great. And I love rosaries. I have too many, but this is like a special one. This is going to be
awesome.
On display. I don't even know. That's so cool. Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, it's and who knows, maybe the right person, you pass it on to them. Like I think these
I'm keeping it. No, okay.
But it's I think what the priest knew, and then is like this. You just knew, like, because I had heard that story before. It's like I've been holding on to that for a while because that was from 2014. And so it's just like, wow. I got it, and it's been in like a little spot for like religious stuff, and I was like, I don't know, I'll just know when it's the right person, and so yeah.
This makes me so happy. You don't even understand because of my dream, I've developed this infatuation with rosaries because Our Lady. So I have been on. I want all different kinds of rosaries from different kinds of places, almost like I don't want to say collecting them. That's not. But it's good
to collect them.
Okay, good.
Well, yeah, I don't think there's Yeah.
'Cause I'm
Gotta
like,
catch them all.
I just want. You know what's so funny about that? When we went on the pilgrimage to Baltimore, you know how you can get a relic by touching it to
Mhm.
touching your sacramentals to something like their class relic. That's what it felt like. I felt like I was just touching relics. Gotta catch them all. But yeah, no. So this is super important to me because the rosary is something that I do every single day.
That's awesome.
I prayed it on the plane. I prayed it in my hotel. Like, I pray the rosary every single day because I want to stay connected to Our Lady. And so this, though, with the first pope that I ever thought was dope, I can't wait.
Oh,
can't
good. Good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. My
Oh,
pleasure.
that was lovely. That was a surprise.
Good, good. Yeah, and I think the rosary, it's like it feels, I think it's one of those things too, it's hard at the beginning to really get into. Like it's like, oh my gosh, so long. But
Yes.
when I Medjugorje, they talked about Our Lady said, like, it's not about, people say like, I don't have time to pray. And it's not about the time, it's about the love. If you
Yes.
love someone, you spend time. Like you don't um anything you love, your
Right.
family, your husband, your
It doesn't
son,
matter. Yeah.
like it's not a question. And so sometimes we realize like, well, maybe I don't love God as much as I say I do if I'm not like willing to put the time in. And I think the rosary, doing it, I'm a Monday through Friday rosary guy. The weekends
Same.
are
Same.
yeah. It's just like the weekends just scarce. If you're a parent, the weekends are, I feel like, are just
Yes.
chaotic.
Exactly.
And you're like just trying not to die.
Yeah. Trying to survive.
Keep everyone alive rather.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's a great way to give this regularity to your life and be connected. And especially on good days where you could really meditate on the mysteries.
Yes.
And especially if you're in like a season of Lent and you're meditating on the sorrowful mysteries, like it's such a powerful way. And the peace that it gives you, I think it's hard to explain. But it's like, I know the days, if I miss a rosary day, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
I feel it.
Yeah. You're like, and it's like, I take like so many supplements. It's like and I was talking to this doctor about one of them. He's like, you shouldn't feel it. It shouldn't, when you take this one thing, so something just to kind of like help the mood. It's like, it should be, you shouldn't take it and feel it, but if you don't take it, you should notice a difference.
Yes.
That's kind of how the rosary is.
No, that's really how it is. And wow, that's crazy. That's really how it is. Because I'm someone who is not ashamed to say that I am on antidepressants. Like, I take things to help my mood change because I've noticed a difference though. If I'm taking it every day, I just feel like I'm normal. Woo.
Yeah.
But as soon as I don't take it, I'm
Feel
like, yeah, I missed that pill. So it's just, and it's because you get so accustomed to trying to make your life better for good reasons. And then as soon as you stop doing something and you fall out of habit, you notice it. I mean, it becomes a pattern in your life. So, and it's not even, I think it's just like, psychology maybe. If you keep doing something every single day and it's like a step in your routine, as soon as you don't do it, whether it's like putting on socks or praying the rosary, you're like, something's off in my life.
Yeah.
So the rosary is just like that.
And I think it also helps fill in, like what they said, idle minds, a doubles workshop. So like sometimes the prayer occupies the space so you don't fill it with something negative.
Right.
And so it's like, at its best, yes, you feel it and you're meditating and stuff, but even at I won't say it's worse, but at the minimum, it's at least you're spending your time with the Lord.
Yeah.
And you're not doing something else.
Yeah.
So what knowing so your husband is not religious, but has a big fan, like your biggest cheerleader,
Yeah.
you said.
Big fan.
Big fan. What is your relationship with him when it comes to like, does he come with you to mass, on Sunday, or like, I know he helps you with your videos and stuff. Like what does a relationship look like?
So the first time he ever came with me to mass was actually my confirmation. Before that, he had never been to mass with me. And then I want to say ever since then, ever since my confirmation, he started going regularly. But like I said, he would never like go up and get a blessing or anything of that sort. He'd listen intently and, and then move on about his life. But now he goes up for blessings, which is pretty cool.
That's cool.
And now he catches himself. He told me the other day, he's like, when I wake up in the morning, I catch myself saying, thank you, Lord, that I'm alive. And I'm like, there's fireworks going off from within me, but I'm trying to keep it
You're
chill.
cool,
I'm
cool,
just
cool,
like,
cool, 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 cool.
I'm like, oh, that's awesome, honey. Like, but no, I'm like, because he's just slowly but surely getting to know Jesus. I think he's always been introduced. His mom, like I said, is a huge Christian, but I think that he's always had such negative experiences with Christianity.
Mm.
And so he's getting to know a Jesus that has things in place for him when he's feeling any kind of way, or when he wants to pray, or when he wakes up, or when he, feels like he's not into it or feeling it. Like, he knows that Jesus now meets him where he is. So I think that that's been super helpful for him. But yeah, honestly, it used to be to the point where I would put on praise and worship music and he would be like, "Oh my gosh, can you turn it off?" Now he wants to sing them with me. So
Really?
it's great steps. I don't think that right now he would say he's Christian or anything of the sort. But he definitely believes in God. He believes that Jesus Christ died for his sins. And we're just slowly inching.
Yeah. And it takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time in so many things. So that's cool. Well,
Yeah.
it's awesome to hear just like the way it's progressing.
Yes.
Because I would imagine it would be extremely hard if it was like the opposite.
Yes.
And then it's like this battle where it's like
I
you're
get a
trying-
lot of messages of followers that will message me and be like, my husband is just battling me right now. Or we both talked to our pastor and our pastor was like, you need to do whatever your husband's doing. Like, don't be Catholic, all of these things. So it's hard. I definitely realize how blessed I am, especially with all of my spiritual transitions throughout my life. I realize how blessed I am to have my husband because he has been my biggest cheerleader. His thing has just been like, pick something and stick to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess maybe probably the last question would be, and you see this, I think, a lot on your social media, but like people who are searching, I would say particularly people who are searching that maybe not know Christ, and they could be Christian, right? But they don't know Christ. Like they're searching. Like, what do you want to share with them? What would you say to them if you could say something?
Yeah. I'd probably say that the Lord wants you to know him and to love him deeply, but he also wants you to know that he knows you and loves you deeply. He knows your story like the palm of his hand. And there's nothing that the Lord has seen in you that he has not seen before.
True.
Since the beginning of time. So never keep that from keeping you from coming to Jesus, specifically through his church, because you will not. The reason why I moved to New Age spirituality was not because I wanted to run away from Jesus. It's because I had pieces of truth that I wasn't able to put together. And once you're able to experience the fullness of faith, and put those pieces together, it all makes sense. You have to be able to see the bigger picture to understand everything. So if you even get a little inkling or something like, I think I might be curious about Catholicism, go for it. Because the way that the devil is always going to try to keep us from God is through division and confusion.
Yep.
And that's exactly what I was experiencing. And don't hear what I'm not saying. I am not saying that Protestant churches have the devil in them. But when you have pieces of truth that you can't put together, this thing makes sense here, this thing makes sense here. Oh, but that person says we should live this way. Oh, but that's not a sin. But at this church is a sin. There's confusion. When you're able to have the unity of the church that Christ established, you're able to understand him so much more deeper than you could have ever imagined. It's really hard to walk away from Jesus when you know that he is present right there within the Eucharist. How could I not go and worship at his feet when he's made something so tangible for us? So I want that for everybody. I want everyone to experience that. So if you're feeling like you're drawn to Catholicism, just don't even go to mass right now and go talk to the priest and tell him that you're interested. They'll take it from there.
That's great advice. Yeah. And to not just sit on it, but go forth, and God will guide you.
Yes.
Like you don't have to have it all. Like you don't need the map to know how it's going to go.
I promise you I did not have a map. If I did, it would have been so much. I had no map, but it's just every single thing is a yes. And God will keep opening doors out for you.
And, I guess just to add to, because it's a reflection of your life, is like, just like GPS, like where if you make a wrong turn, it's like you recalculate. Like, so like, even if
Yeah.
you feel like, okay, yeah, but I did, it's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
We can keep coming. Like
Yep.
God's still like, it's all roads lead to him. And no matter
Yeah.
what path you choose, or yes and then no, still got.
He goes off-road with us. It's
Mhm.
just like the one sheep that strayed away. He left the 99, went to search for the one, and brought it back.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that one sheep didn't get lost again. It's just to say that he's always going to keep pursuing, because that's
Yeah.
the kind of God we serve.
Good. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
This was so much fun.
Yes.
Got to learn more about you. It's fun when you get to see someone on the internet and hear their story, then actually just like talk to them, and like all the questions you're like, oh, but what about that? And so
Yes.
I had a blast learning about
Thank
your
you
life.
so much for having me. This was such a pleasure.
Thank you. What, I guess, any shout outs, what's coming up, or what do you have coming up? And then shout outs, and then how can people follow you if they don't follow you already?
So shout out to my husband who, no, I'm kidding, who's been walking this journey with me. He's amazing. But no, for real. What's coming up soon is just more content to help people connect to the sacredness of the church. And I'm planning on doing that through going to different churches, visiting different churches, through pilgrimage. I'll be going to Italy soon. And so they'll see content for that. But also just experiencing the church through the voices of other people who have walked this journey longer. So I actually have something on the last Wednesday of every month called Sacred Faith Formation, where I invite somebody on an Instagram Live and we discuss questions that people submit in. So if people are interested in that, last time I had Father Leo on. I'm planning on having a Catholic convert on this month, and then, Father Josh, like lots of people coming up to speak to the Catholic faith. So you guys are not just hearing it from me, but other people who've walked this longer. And so yeah, those are the things that are coming up. Lots of content, lots of vlogging, because I think that it's one thing to hear about what the Catholic perspective is, and it's another thing to immerse yourself in it and live it through the eyes of someone seeing the beauty and the sacredness of the church. So a lot of things coming. Yeah. And you can find me at A Sacred Faith on TikTok and Instagram.
I saw you on YouTube. I'm a huge YouTube guy. You have one video.
So
Will
I
there be more?
haven't. So that's coming out soon. I haven't gotten my YouTube together yet. I need to get on it, but I've been so busy. But when I sit down and actually really just make it a YouTube day, YouTube is going to be YouTube is my number one priority. People are talking about Facebook, but YouTube is my priority right now to focus on.
Good, good.
Coming soon.
All right, I'm excited. Well, I'm excited for all of it. I'm excited for YouTube too.
Yes.
I mean, YouTube for us or as a family, like we watch it on the TV, and so like I think what people might miss is like the importance of like people are consuming YouTube, and especially like creators that like, I mean, a lot of them are like Lego based, the boys, so like. But there's other people that just like living their life and doing stuff, and it's such a great witness, and like there's no barrier. Like you can put a video out right now.
Yes.
There's no one's like saying yes you can or not, and like it's entering in people's lives in a dramatic way, and I think it's really impacting stuff. So I'm really excited. Not for you only to continue the Instagram and TikToks. I think that's huge, but also YouTube. So
yes, YouTube is definitely my first project, and also because longer things there. Instagram, it's like you've got 1 minute and 30 seconds for people before they kind of disconnect. So YouTube is where I can really get on and teach all of the things. So I'm excited about that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, good. Well, thank you all for listening and watching Flicker and Burn. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, like the video, hit the notification bell. If you're listening, whatever podcast platform, give us a review. 5 stars are ideal, but I can't force you. And thanks again, Kristen, for tuning in. Thanks for listening to this. You're probably gonna listen to this.
Yeah, I'm gonna listen to it later. So don't worry. I'll say you're welcome later when I listen to it.
Thank you for being here. It was such a joy. You bring such a just awesome presence.
Thank you.
Who you are online, you're even better in person. Like you just have this joy about you, and I'm excited to see what God's gonna lead you and do in your life.
Thank you so much, Rob. It's been great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for watching Flicker and Burn. If this lit something inside you, make sure you share it. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell. And if you're listening to us on whatever podcast platform, make sure you give us a 5-star review. Make sure you share this, and we'll see you next time.